One more time. All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the capsule. We are back with a couple of old friends. We have Jenny Lou in the house, freshly freelance. Second day freelance.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Second full day freelance.
So far, it's going great.
So far going great.
Yeah.
Feeling free.
Yep. Still out here, killing it.
Lovely.
Surviving, thriving.
Yes, you are.
And we also have Talladega Nights,
Whoop whoop.
a podcast veteran at this point.
OG crew.
And yeah, we did have a bit of technical difficulties, guys, but we are here and we are...
You'd never know.
Yeah.
We'd never know.
Literally.
There was some interesting stories which we'll maybe save for another time because you guys missed out because my camera malfunctioned. But yeah, so what I was saying in the podcast, which shall never be heard, is that Tally went on an Insta story run and then within 24 hours of that hit me up and said, by the way, I'm free Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the pod if you're around. So that's how you know she came ready with the right energy for this week, because we love a bit of Tally Smoke, which incidentally Jenny thinks should be the name of Tally's section.
Yeah.
Can there be like a visual effect?
Tally Smoke.
Yeah. Come on. That would be so good.
What happened to I missed the sound.
The buttons. I'm too far.
Talk to your friends.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can redo the setup since I'm back to freelance now. I have a lot more time.
So Jenny's going to be back on the pod.
So I'm going to be back.
The buttons.
So could I have the table so I could pew pew pew?
Yeah, or do you want to go
future.
back to being off camera? Do you like being on camera?
Well,
You can still do producing
I
on
have
camera.
a new haircut, so like
Oh yeah.
so I feel like I deserve to be on camera now.
You always deserved to be on camera, Jenny.
I mean, I enjoyed my off-camera days, but
It
if
was
I'm,
actually her request to be off camera. By the
Yeah.
way, before you guys say I'm not a feminist,
yeah, it's just because I'm a woman and you didn't want to.
yeah, I didn't want to give you the shine.
No, if anything, I feel like you would want me on camera but have my mic off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Just button.
yeah, yeah. Maybe we can have it set up where I have
Okay.
the table and then I can.
Well, just means we have to go back to headphones, but that's doable. If you're happy with
Why?
that.
Oh shit.
Because we can hear the sounds.
Oh yeah,
How
yeah.
else are you supposed to know what you hit?
From memory.
And how are we supposed to react to
Can we
them?
get like big speakers in the place? Just increase the production value.
You don't want to go back to headphones, do you really?
We can go back. I don't mind going because then also it opens up like we could do phone calls and stuff, which we used to do. We could
Come on, bring them back.
Yeah, we could bring
Yeah,
back.
or-
It brings back all the
Or just I could have headphones.
Phone calls members only.
and we could watch stuff more easily and just connect it by Bluetooth.
We've got our props related thing, which is, you missed it. We'll
Show
see.
and tell.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new segment. But yeah, all
Tally
right.
smoke.
Tally Smoke. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
We need to.
yeah.
All right, we're going to get Jen on this, guys.
Okay.
So let's start where we started a minute ago. Tally, skeleton crews.
Yes.
What are they? What's the issue? Let's go from
So
there.
I was a little bit. See, do you know what? Actually, I don't think I was that smoky.
No.
In the stories,
No, you weren't.
but what I did consider is how people could read them and think they were specifically about certain peeps.
All right.
And of course, I'm like triggered by what I've seen and what's actually happening. But I'm never just, if I want to come at a person, like trust and believe, I will just slide on into the DMs and have the chat.
Yeah.
So it's not smoky in an indirect, but for you kind of way.
No, I think you're more like if there's multiple situations that call for a bigger conversation, then you'll have it, even if it's spurred on by one or two
Because
situations.
I know everyone's eyes are on Insta, and if we've all got clear examples of the thing that I'm talking about, it just makes sense to talk about it while it's a hot topic. So skeleton crews, I've seen lots of posts around those for a few months, and not just here in LA as well, but don't really know what the setup is for them over there, so not really getting too involved. I asked a choreographer if they pay their skeleton crews, and their answer told me that and it wasn't a straight no, but the answer told me that clearly there's conversation to be had.
Cause for concern.
Cause for concern.
What's the breakdown of what is for those of us who aren't in the commercial industry?
Skeleton crews are groups of dancers that choreographers will work with in their prep part of a project, whether it's workshopping material with the dancers or just laying it on, like they've made it all but they're just teaching it to the dancers to like film for test shoots maybe, but they are not the cast for the project. They are brought on prior. Some are paid, as people slid in DMs to tell me, and I was like, hey, didn't say they weren't. But I am just talking about the unpaid ones though, because I do know that they exist. I think there's possible hoodwinkery, intended or not, in how they're publicized. They aren't connected to the project. It just kind of looks very informal and like, come hang, we'll sesh. Free class as the, so sorry, he'll never watch this whole thing, but a choreographer that I asked about it, that was one of his utterances about it. And I was like, it's not class though, is it? Because it's for you. So they are, prep is an integral part of a choreographic process. I'm sure there are choreographers that walk in rooms and just do it in the moment, and that is part of their process, but more often than not, material is being generated prior. Or if you're not putting steps and combos together, you're playing with ideas before walking into the room.
Sure.
So there's having choreographers that might not know, aspiring, working already, whatever, just that you should be asking production teams to pay you for that time. And if that time for you includes dancers, then they should also be paid for their time. R&D in theatre is that playtime. It will generally, that will be connected to the project, but you're not doing it like a few days before and then going straight into rehearsals.
I mean, usually you'll have R&D, then creation, then rehearsals.
Yes, or at least like we spoke about those pods ago, that kind of ruminating, reflective period. Commercial work doesn't really go like that. You're going straight from, you've got the project dates and you're just tagging on your prep before it. It's one thing to have producers pay for it, but I think it's also worthwhile, regardless of whether they've got the money or not, that they know that you don't just like bleed combos and that there's a process, and that part of what they're paying for is that process. And I don't think we kind of think day rates for the amount of time I'm spending on the project, and not necessarily considering how much time we're spending in the lead up to day one. There was something in that, I think not being paid is fine if it's for a submission for a project.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know if it would be called a skeleton crew in that case, but if it was to pitch, I think that's different. But I as a dancer would almost want a caveat that if you get the project, I want kickback. I don't necessarily need to be cast for the job, but if you end up making...
Oh, I mean, that would be ideal. This is it. Like, this is who I'm pitching, and also if I get the job, this is who I'll hire. If you're not free, then that's on you.
But I do know that even R&Ds don't work that way necessarily.
No. But you get paid for them.
And also, yes. And it's worth saying that I've always thought that R&Ds pay really badly. Like, I was on one in April, and I was just like, I'm so surprised that it's for a play. I'm so surprised anyone's doing this, because the weekly fee's so bad. And then you come to find that, you know, in the commercial realm where there's more money, arguably.
They're doing it for free.
They're doing it for nothing. But yeah, I think the pitch submission bit is interesting and a hard ask. I don't expect many young dancers to be like, yeah, fine, I'll do it for free. But if you get the gig, I expect to be paid. Like, I know these conversations aren't easy to have, but at least if you know that you should be having them, then maybe it will just kickstart a bit of thought. Like, I had a couple of dancers come to me and like, I saw it or someone sent it to me and I literally thought like, what would Tally think? And I love that. I love that. Just the thought of me seeing you done something unscrupulous is enough for you to go, no, I can't.
This is like the meter of like, what would my mom say if she saw me do this?
Would Tally smoke me on the capsule if I did this? Yes. It is really just an awareness thing. And I speak in quite direct ways, obviously, but I am also like thinking through it. But I just land on it being part of professional jobs. And as I said before, that I don't think I've repeated this time, you need to be of a certain caliber to be a skeleton dancer. So you're not like not even in college and just started out.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Like you're generally professional level.
Yeah. Can I ask a couple of devil's advocate questions?
So can, yeah.
Okay. So if such is the case that it's a young dancer who otherwise would have no contact with that, or not no contact, but no opportunity to work with that choreographer and or on that job. Like you wouldn't be hired for that job, for example. But if the choreographer was like, all right, look, I'm not going to hire you for this job. You're not ready. But if you want to come and jump in the studio with me while I work on some stuff and let me test it out on you, you're welcome to, kind of thing. Like, let's say it's not an advertised thing. It's like they reach out to their people that are like...
Right.
Like, for example, I've had people that want to shadow me on like photo shoots. And it's like, are they being paid to assist me? No. But the thing is, they've made it clear to me, I want experience shooting. And I'm like, well, I don't have budget for an assistant, but if you want to come along, I'll teach you what I'm doing. And if you want to bring your camera and also practice the stuff in that environment, which is a closed environment that you wouldn't have been invited to shoot in, you're welcome to, under the guise of you're shadowing me and I'm teaching you. So does that make it better if that was the case? If it was like, I'm reaching out only to like young student dancers who aren't of that level? Or is the whole thing, I guess what I'm asking is the whole issue based on the fact that you're asking professionals to give up their time?
I think so. I think, and it is in the messaging as well.
Sure.
Because I don't see it specified like who it's geared at. It's just like who's up for it. And also the admin involved in that is long, because one of the choreographers like scrolled through his inbox and like, I'll get back, like you could see like the replies. It's like long.
Yeah, you have to pick through those people now.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. But I think if you had, say you needed 12 skeleton dancers and you like, I've got 10 who I know can do what I need and I'll pay them, and there's 2 spots available for like that kind of thing that
like
you've said.
An opportunity to jump in the studio with.
Yeah, because skeleton, like it's not necessarily a high pressure environment, but you do need what you need at the end of it.
Right,
so to completely make it like an educational thing, I'm not sure would work.
It wouldn't achieve their objective.
Not necessarily. It would make it a nicer thing and make it make more sense for there to not be money involved.
Well, I guess that's in the example I used of someone shadowing me to shoot, I've never asked them for their pictures. It's like, I said that, you know, someone was like, I think it was Leisha, who does a great job with her photography in it, but she shadowed me on something and she kind of said something in the realm of like, oh, why don't I get this part for you while you get that part? And I'm like, no, like you get what you need to, but I'm doing this job as if you're not here. Right. Because like her pictures would be great. But the point is, I'm not asking you here to do a job for me. Yes. I'm doing the job and you get to shoot whatever you want.
And
so
just like soak up the
exactly. So I guess
space.
In that sense, if you need the person there and you need them to generate certain material, blah, 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 then you're asking something of them, as opposed to, let's say, even if it's like, I need a 10 dancer crew and I've got my 10 dancers, I'm opening up 2 more slots for students to come in. Like, I don't need you to do anything. If you decide to sit down halfway through, cool. If you decide to join in and learn the material, great, but I don't need you there. Then, then I guess it's more of an educational.
I think it's a great thing. Like, I think they're really helpful. I actually will say I intended to do it for Lion, Witch and Wardrobe, but the cast that I had weren't going to have the physical capabilities of the crew that I was going to call in. So it kind of it wasn't going to be very helpful, I don't think. I just think where there's, as ever with professional work, where the project has money, just make sure you're getting some of it. Yeah. And I think if the producers don't give you money for skeleton, which they may not, because if you're talking about, like we say, like a dozen dancers or something, like that does add a decent amount, I guess. But then I would encourage the choreographer to whether it's expenses or like a half day rate, just like compensation of some kind, because I think we think of the choreography fee as the choreographer's fee. And like, if you need it to cover more than your personal amount, then sometimes it just has to do that. Yeah. And if you can't up the fee, if you've mentioned it too late, that's kind of a on you thing. But because the person that I asked about it was, you know, like, sometimes it is, depends. It's like, I feel like sometimes it depends, speaks to you knowing that it should be every time.
Sure.
So if you believe that to be true and it doesn't come through on the production side, that budget line still needs to be covered if you bring dancers into the space.
Yeah, or I guess it's like looking at each project and seeing what you do and don't have money for, because if it's like, right, this job, they're willing to give me the budget for all this R&D stuff, or this job, let's say the middle ground would be they're willing to pay me extra days to R&D essentially, and they're willing to pay for the studio, but they don't have budget for me to have 10 dancers in the space. Fine, I'll just go in by myself and make it up and then do it.
I'm always of the opinion, and I think the only way that production teams learn is if you give them the version that they've given you the resources to make.
100%.
So if they say you can't have skeleton crew, fine.
Yeah.
But
that first rehearsal, I'm putting it on them for the first time. This has never been put on dancers before.
Yes.
Because you didn't pay me to do
it.
Yeah.
Which is, look, like, you will have work. The work will be very good. My ideal way of working is this, and what you've booked me, what you've seen had this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think from a like producer standpoint, it's like, and I get that it might be difficult, especially if you're like early in your career as a choreographer and you're kind of like don't want to ask for too much or just want to do your best at all times. Like, I get that, but at the same time, like, the job of the producing team is also to give people the resources that they need to deliver the best thing possible. So I think it's like, yeah, okay, if you can't pay for this, then my choreographer's fee needs to be higher, knowing that some of that will be allocated to covering some of your own needs, or like, you know, I think it's not all or nothing. Like, either you give me 100% of this or I'm not doing the job. But I think that in a way, like you said, if you never fight for it and you just kind of get people to do it for free, what you're getting paid and the cost of the production isn't reflecting of the real cost of what it costs to make this.
Yeah, and also what happens a lot is like, and this is such a hard thing to do, and I get that it's not easy at the beginning, but like when you're starting to work as a professional in whatever industry, if you quote someone a full price, like, I think a good way to do it, and we've probably spoken about it so many times, a good way to do it is say, here's what it would usually cost, let's discuss. So if they say, oh, now I know what it would usually cost, we don't have budget for this and this, but we only have budget for this, cool, all good, but you know how much this is supposed to cost, right? And don't be scared to like put full rates. Like, I'm always, whenever I do film, photography, marketing, whatever work, I'm always open to discussion and always open to like negotiation. However, I will start with, here's how much this costs at full fees. Then if you come to me and say, I only have this much, cool, we'll work out what I can offer you for that much out of this package. So, but then what happens is, either if you don't get the job or you don't get that full budget, what happens, and from 6-7 years of freelance experience, people will come back the next year or the next project and say, hey, now that we have this budget, can we get that original thing? Because we loved what you delivered on half the budget and it was lovely. Now we've got the full budget, we'd like that full option. But if you only say, yeah, I can do it for this, then next year they'll come back and say, can you do it again for that? Like, you have to give them a thing of like what it's supposed to cost. And I think it does happen a lot. Even if I've had stuff from like 3-4 years ago that I'm like, oh, that client's gone with the wind, and then they come back and say, you charge this much, right? And I'm like, well, actually no, it's this much, right. But you know what I mean, they come back and they say, oh, can we hire you again, and how much do you cost and whatever. So it does happen, and I think it's like you have to kind of have the not the balls, even, it's not even that hard, but like you kind of have to just say, here's how much it costs. And I think also, this is the other question I was going to ask you is, I wonder if it changes if you are advertising it versus just calling up some friends for a favor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that does change it. And if it's a favor, it's a favor, and you're explicitly saying that. But I do think it is cloaked in like informality and like just a fun thing. It doesn't necessarily say what the project's for, which I get. You don't want to be blasting your business out like that, but it is attached to a project.
No, but I think even if I was doing that, I would say, even if I was asking to, let's say, I'm trying to find an equivalent with shooting. I'm shooting a behind the scenes reel of, let's say like Little Sims at Glastonbury or something like that, or like, you know, a big act, Jay-Z or something, right? I'm shooting that, and I want, let's say I could do with some assistance. I would put in to the production, I would say, realistically, to do this job properly, I need 2 assistants. They would say, no, we've only got budget for 1. Okay, cool. Now, what I can do is reach out to people that, let's say if I was going to put it on Insta story, like these examples, I would say, looking for 2 people who are willing to assist me in exchange for mentoring, teaching, whatever. Like I would make sure that what I was offering was the same. And I probably would say, just bear in mind it's for a big act, which they don't have money for assistance. So bear that in mind when contacting me, because I would immediately feel weird, like you said, of like, right, this is a big fucking production and I'm asking for 2 assistants. To be honest, I don't think, me personally, like, which kind of aligns with what you're saying, it's the same as what I said to Leisha that time about shooting. I don't think I would give them responsibility. Because if I'm asking you to shadow me or to work for free or to assist, I would maybe ask for some assistance if it was like really simple shit. Like if I needed a static angle of something, and I said press play on that while I go and get some other shots, maybe. Right. But if I needed them to like shoot creatively and get stuff that I was going to use in the edit, I would be very reluctant to, especially on such a big thing. If that was a really small thing, and I've done that on community event where it's like students are running it and they've got £100 budget, and I'm like, you know what, I'm doing this for like, you know, whatever, I'll buy you food or something. Will you come and help me for the experience, and I'll mentor you and help you. But I think it's like, it depends. On a lower level project, I'd almost be more comfortable to do that or to advertise it, because I'm like, no one's getting paid. Like you can have the £100 if you want. It's like
when no one's getting paid, it's so fun.
But on a big thing, I'm like, I feel bad because I'm getting paid full fees. Unless, like you said, unless I'm taking my full fee,
splitting it,
paying myself less and giving them, even if it's not loads, giving them a little something.
Like I do it. So
I'm with you now.
Lion Witch Wardrobe had Jevon as my associate the first time, and maybe the second, but the fourth. There's been a couple of times where he hasn't been on the contract with me, but he has choreography in the show. I've taken it upon myself to pay him. Okay. Because the producers are rubbish and they're not. But I know his work is there.
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge that. Yeah. So it's an offering. It's not like masses, but I do think it's reflective of the work that he did. And like these dancers are helping you create the vision. And for the dancers, like there's every possibility you'd watch this, if any do, and you'd be like, Tally, it's just not that deep. I just want to get in a room with these like very successful and popping people.
And this is a thing that I was going to say, that I feel like part of it is a little bit like, or it can be a little bit like not predatory, but like
exploitative.
Yeah, because it's like if you're posting stuff like that and you kind of know that you're hot shit right now, and you like, you know, you are a choreographer that, you know, a lot of dancers want to work with, and you're doing a bunch of cool projects that, you know, a lot of people aspire to be on,
that you don't audition for necessarily.
It's like maybe, you know, that you maybe are casted, you know, sometimes maybe even a little bit out of your control. Like maybe if it's a commercial, it's like a casting agency that, you know, so I understand it's not always all in the choreographer's hand. But I think like understanding where you are currently in your industry is like, people do just want to be in a room with you. And I think playing to that, to kind of get favors from people that you don't know, that are really just looking for an opportunity when you know chances are there is no opportunity for them past that date. Like, unless you're, you know, it's like, okay, there might be the one person that you discover, but, you know, realistically, like, you know, it ends for that person after that
but
day.
Also, if there is an opportunity, then say so.
Yeah.
I think it is all in the messaging.
Yeah. So I think,
it.
but I think in that sense, it is a little bit like taking advantage of people's ambition, and it's like, I don't know, it's not fair, it's not okay, and especially when it's like a commercial job that has money attached to it, and everybody who's working on that project is getting paid.
Yeah, because also now we have to talk about, or we have to look at, how much did you initially quote? Because if they said, for example, when I quote for a videography job, almost exclusively for the last however many years, I quote for edit days as well. Like how, and this I think is a good parallel in the sense of it's the same just before. Yeah. It's like if they said how much is the job, and I used to do this, and I know videographers that do this, and you shouldn't be fucking doing it, is saying how much does it charge? How much would you charge to shoot this job? And I say £300, right? And then it's like, cool. But then now I have to shoot, and then I have to do 2 days editing, and then I have to send you it, get feedback, do more editing. And what happens is sometimes clients keep going and they keep wanting changes, and now your £300 is stretched over 3 weeks, right? Yes. And you're like, well, now it's not worth it anymore. So now what I do, and which everyone should be doing, photography, video, anything, is quote for the time shooting, quote for how many edit days you take, and quote a half day for feedback. And I promise you, if you attach a price to that feedback will be concise, on time, and it will take you half a day, right? So they won't keep going, because if they have to pay for every half day feedback, they'll just get it all in one, right? And now I actually this is not relevant, but I also book in my edit days. I don't just randomly edit and tell them I'll get it to you when I can. I say, I'm going to shoot on the 30th. I can't edit until the 3rd and the 4th, so you'll get it on the 5th. Cool. And I book those days out. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But let's say, for example, I quote one shoot day and 2 edit days for a project. If I wanted to, I could hire an editor to edit for me on any of these gigs. Like, it doesn't matter if I subcontract, right? Yeah. So I could go and shoot. I could call up Joe or whoever and be like, right, I've got 2 days worth of pay for you. Can you edit this project to this thing? All good. Now, what we're saying with these choreographers is you're shooting. In my analogy, you're shooting, but then you're asking people to kind of edit for you or with you for free. But now my question is, at the very outset of this conversation with the production company, did you say what I say, which is this is going to be 1 shoot day plus 2 edit days? That's how much I cost. And then if they say, oh, we've only got this much, either I say no or whatever, I figure it out. But are these choreographers going in and saying, oh, you want me to choreograph for this music video? It's 3 days on set. Cool. It's probably going to take me 4 days in the studio. Here's 7 days of my day fee or whatever. And then it's going to cost this much for dancers and blah, blah, blah. And then if they bargain you down, okay, that's one thing. But I think if they're going in just quoting their own shoot fees and then after the fact going, oh, now I need people. So you know what the job... I know a shoot has to be edited. So we have to talk about that. Like from the beginning, it's like, it's not a surprise. I don't get home and go, what? Files didn't edit themselves.
I really don't think choreographers factor in prep into their thing.
But that's wild, because that's the job.
Not like exclusively don't, but I don't think we all do.
But like the job is at least 50-50, if not 60-40, no?
Yeah.
Like, well, it depends how you work, like you said. But like the process of putting it on the dancers is one thing, and the process of directing them on the day is one thing. But a big part of that is like, what are they going to be doing on stage? And even if that's thinking, brainstorming, mood boarding.
Maybe it's a thing of... Because I know that I feel like Dylan... Like when me and Dylan would have conversation about like his camp fees.
Yes.
And he'd talk about his prep. But maybe it comes from a community thing of, you know, we generally cut our chops. Is that even the phrase? Cut our chops?
Jen's the worst part. I'm going to Google it.
That's not it. Cut our teeth and then earn our chops.
Cut
your teeth is cut your chops. bust my anyway. Like learn the craft through teaching classes or like teaching, and I don't think we factor in our creative period with teaching. So maybe that's where the mental, like the separation comes, where we don't factor it in. I don't know.
That's fair.
Or sometimes I guess also like choreographers maybe get offered a flat fee. You know, like you get 10K to do this thing.
This
like,
is something I've heard before from dancers, I guess, where I was talking about dancing versus shooting, where the dancers get approached with like, this is how much the fee is for dancers, right? Like, I don't know if that's got a thing on like theatre or a commercial project where you say, right, when you write the dancer as a producer, you'd say this is how much we're.
Yeah, but it depends on the role, because I think if it's like a performer who's coming in for X amount of days to perform, blah blah blah, like it's a different thing than if it's part of the core creative team that's there to generate the material. And sometimes it's like you can't really put like, and I think it depends also on the kind of job, but you can't necessarily put like like a day rate on how much it takes time to like choreograph a music video, because you need to think about it in different ways. So it's more like in the live performing arts, I think it tends to be more in the terms of the creative team. It's like, this is your lump sum and we want you to like generate X amount, like you need, if it's a composer, for example, or a choreographer, it's like you need to choreograph an hour show. This is your fee.
Do with
like
it what you
whatever.
need to.
If it takes you 1 day to prep for it or 3 weeks, that's your business. Like, so I think it's not necessarily like it works in day rate, but let's say like on another job, let's say I was like working with a composer and he was like, okay, this is the fee for the composer. But then he was like, oh, but I think I might want to work with a violinist for this specific track. So I would need budget to hire somebody to come into the studio because I can't do it on the computer. So we need to kind of bring in like a musician for that specific thing. So it's like, okay, well, then we need to rethink about that, because that's not necessarily like,
you're asking extra for that.
Yeah, so I think it's like, you know, he knows what he needs in terms of how he's going to compose and who he needs to work on. And then there's like room for negotiating in like, okay, well, maybe like we can't afford everything you want, but we can do this. And then if you really want to work like that, then maybe you can adjust your fee slightly.
Right? Yeah, and it's also, I think, how much, like you said, like, I think you said this, but like doing... I always say that, I said this to you before about other things, but like when you're on a project, you're a tool in a sense, like you are a tool of your higher ups, right? And if you don't have the budget and time to deliver the thing, that's not your fault, and it's not your job to go above and beyond what you're paid to do. It's their job to use their tools better. So if they go, right, well, you know, we've got this musical that is 2 hours long and we've got enough budget to pay a choreographer to spend 2 days in the studio on that, right? It's like, it's not your job to go, oh, they've paid me for 2 days, but I'll spend an extra 3 weeks on it. It's your job to go, all right,
fine,
well,
you can have the 2 days.
Yeah, here's 2 days worth of work. But if you think that's going to do it, then like, or you know, you can flag it and bring it up. But if they say, well, do what you can in 2 days, like, all right, okay. And if you, like you said, if you get quoted or if you quote for 2 days or whatever it is, then you go and spend an extra 3 weeks and bring them this finished piece. They're going to go, holy shit, like we're only ever going to pay you 2, and we're only ever going to pay anyone else 2 days worth. So it's like, you know, if I know loads of people who are in like 9 to 5 jobs, and hands up, guilty, I'm lazy as fuck when I've had a 9 to 5 job. But my thing is like, if my work is not finished by 5 or whenever I finish, I'm going home. I'm not staying longer, because your job as my boss is to arrange my work day to get my stuff done. It's not my job to stay late for you. And if you fire me on that, go fuck yourself. Like, no. So I think this works in a creative sense, where it's like, if you are given the budget only for yourself, and let's be generous and say you're given 5 days in a studio, but it's only your fees in a studio, and they've hired a studio for you, but they haven't given you any dancers fees. Okay, cool. Then I'm going to work on it by myself, because you are not paying for dancers. It's not about, I understand that you want to put, I think you said that, like you want to put your best foot forward. You want to do the best job possible. Fine. But no, also like just do what you're paid to do. And if it's the right opportunity, they'll have budget for that. Now, if if, let's say, I'm in conversation with Donald Glover. Let's take Shay's example, although we're not talking about Shay, guys. Let's say I'm in conversation. Donald Glover's team hits me up and says, "Hey, Luke, super randomly, I know you're a videographer, but you're super cool, and we want you to choreograph his new music video, right?" If I want to go, fuck, this is a huge gig for me. I'm a podcaster. Don't know why they're asking me, but if I want to reach out and be like, "Tals, please help me. Like, can we get in the studio and like, I've got these ideas for choreo. I really want to make it like the best thing. Like, it's not an official part of the job, but like, please, would you help me out?" That's, again, your discretion to say yes or no. It's also, I'm making it very clear, like, I just want to go above and beyond to put this thing together. There's been jobs where I've spent longer on the edit than I've been paid to do. A, because maybe I'm enjoying it, or B, because I really want to do a fucking good, because I know it's going to go to a big audience or whatever it is, right? That's your discretion, but it's also not something that you can put onto the dancers. And like you said, it's in the messaging. You can't disguise that or pretend it's not, like, you've chosen to go above and beyond. Like, this isn't just part of the job. Like, free R&Ds are not part of theatre. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like,
or you know, like you're saying, I think it's kind of a matter of like messaging and managing expectations, and even like managing the relationship with the producers or whatever. But it's like, if they don't have the resources to do what you want, or to give you the tools that you need to do your job the best, then it's also like maybe a conversation of maybe they need to adjust their ambition of what they like, which is I guess like difficult to argue.
No, it's what you should say to them. You're the one that knows.
Yeah, so I think that's
not possible with this budget in this time frame.
So it's like, okay, either, you know, let's find a creative solution to unlock more money, or let's adjust what you want to, like, how complex this outcome is going to be and how much time there is to deliver it. So can I say
how's that going?
Yeah, good.
Okay,
guys, I've never tried a Negroni before. Can I say a potentially not controversial, but like a potentially smoky comment?
Yes.
Does this have a parallel with dance companies who have a regular training group and then when jobs come, hire externally? Because technically you're using those dancers who are sometimes paying every week to come to your classes or your sessions, training on them, building it, and then
it depends if that's market, like if it's advertised as one of the benefits of being there. Because I've heard this is a thing that's occurring.
Which is why I'm asking. I have no skin in the game, guys. I don't care either way.
I think it depends if that was promised or not.
Yeah,
because we had it at Zoo. Zoo's different, but okay. We had it, and I think Boy Blue experienced it as well when they went from like crew, company, and beyond. Like, it got less in-house.
Yeah, sure.
And like the way that was handled was tricky for some of us that had been there. It's like, you know, suddenly you're auditioning and like, or you're just like directly casting people that haven't been here for a decade, or, you know, those things. But those were just people's perceptions of what they were due or owed or deserved. But no one ever said, if you're here for a decade, you will be in the production. Like, no one said that. So I think it depends on the expectations. I compared it to a paid masterclass where we'll be scouting.
Yeah.
It's that. It's like, what are we?
What is this?
What are we?
Well, because also
what are we doing
with that? Like, I would say
you're right there.
Yeah, I would say that it's the advertising that's the issue, right?
Yeah,
it's like if you want to just scout, which happens all the time, is like people get picked up for jobs at class. Right?
Yeah, because I thought of Pineapple back in the day, like that Goldfish Bowl, like the studio that you can look into when you walk in. Like, Jerry and Ashley would just like come and hang and just like be there, and like. Randomly, it wasn't if you go to that class they will be. So it just suddenly became this formalized thing where I guess you get a point for explicitly saying that so and so will be there to be scouting. But if you want to scout for talent, hold an audition. Like, why am I paying to? No, I'm just coming to like if I go to a masterclass, I just want to go and train and be scruffy and bad. And like, I'm not coming to show up for an agent or prospective work necessarily. I'm definitely not paying for that. So I think it's an advertising messaging thing. I feel like we're getting quite passionate about it, which is fantastic. But just a reminder that we're just talking about the topic.
Yeah.
This isn't like about anything /one in particular.
I love topics where I have like a distance.
Comparison.
No, a distance from them, because I'm just talking like purely hypothetically. Like, I don't know if this is like people are like, oh, he's talking about that, but you know, like, but I don't.
No, we're drifting here, there.
Okay,
we're still
good.
on it, but like we're meandering away. But I think my stories are in my highlights on my III page, by the way. And I did make an effort to like contain it there, just in case, because you know, don't think everyone's gonna sit and listen to this in its entirety. But yeah, an awareness heightening thing.
Where do we want to go next?
Dancing with the devil.
I was going to say, do you want to dance with the devil?
All right, let me get through a couple of short things.
Okay.
Because that's not going to be a short thing.
No, it's not. We saw, I don't know if you've seen it, but the Nikel's Beyond the Moves Airbnb dancer thing.
I did see it. I think it's a really good idea.
What is it?
So he's trying to raise money. I think he wants quite a bit. It's like...
Oh, is he fundraising?
30 grand or something? It's quite a lot.
Okay.
That he needs to get. But
I didn't know he needed money for it. I thought it was just happening.
No, I think he's fundraising to make it happen. So that's his... what you saw is the pitch for...
I see.
Crowdfunding to make it happen.
In its entirety.
Sorry, 20k he's looking for. But basically, so the idea is Nikel, who has been on this pod twice, go watch episodes, lovely guy, good friend of mine. He runs Beyond the Moves, which is a platform which is like a community, but they also do workshops, they also do online content, tutorials, all sorts of cool stuff. He has this idea, which is basically built out into a whole concept with like a website and everything, but like it's basically like Airbnb for dancers. And you can sign up and say, it's kind of like couch surfing, Airbnb vibes, where you can say, I've got a living room. It's open for dancers. Like, we're a house full of dancers. You can come and crash if you want to do an event in London. And
like Cleveland way.
Yeah, no, exactly. But for this type of thing, because what Nikel was saying is like, we do this anyway, and it's like maybe making it easier and having an infrastructure for it. And what he was saying is, I think they'll limit it at, you can't charge more than like 30 euros a night, so it's like has to stay affordable, and it's only for people that are like in the community. So if you sign, and I think this is where all the money comes in, is obviously for the website design and all that, but also for safety and like for people to make sure it's secure websites, and to do like ID and verification checks on all the people, so you know you're staying with safe people, which I think is honourable to want to do it the right way, because so many people would just have that idea and just start a WhatsApp group and be like, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, there's a lot more that goes into it to like keep people safe and stuff. But I think, having this idea of like, right, you sign up, you say, right, I've got, you know, the thing here, and you can obviously accept and decline based on certain dates, but everyone on the platform is all dancers around the world that want to host people and want to travel. And obviously, you know, it's like Airbnb. If you have someone you like, you can go back, or if you if you like, you can come to mine, I'll come to yours, and we do an exchange or whatever, that type of stuff. But like, it's kind of something that happens already. There used to be it might still exist, I'm just not on Facebook anymore, but there was a Facebook group called,
oh yeah, I remember that,
like couch surfing for dancers or something.
I
like
remember
that. And
I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, like people would post in it and say, I'm coming to Germany, can anyone host me for 2 nights or whatever. But this just formalizes it a bit more. But yeah.
Cool. I mean,
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought when you were going Airbnb, I was like, is he buying a property and like making it an Airbnb for dancers? Because buying a property for that would be crazy. But also I feel like there's always people looking for a place to stay. Like, you know, so like, and always people transiting in and out of London.
Especially battlers. It's like, it's a thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's an interesting idea. Like, I feel like when you think about it, it's like there's so much that goes into it, and so I get the money aspect, and it's kind of difficult with these things that happen naturally, but then you formalize them, and then there's a lot of like what it means, you know, even like you said in terms of safety, or if something happens, who's responsible. So more power to you for doing it, Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of, I've said to III alum, like, always tag III when you post about your sublets, because I always see people that are looking and I always see people that have got it to give. So just trying to connecting the dots is difficult, even though like I feel like there's enough of each for everyone to be covered, but it's just like the link between. But like, I loved Airbnb when it began and you were actually staying in people's homes. It wasn't about the staying in people's homes, but just like that model.
Yeah.
Now just like, so clever. And like, you know, I've got my home by the sea, which is like prime Airbnb stuff, but I've got a 1-bed and I'm like, I don't have anywhere to put all of my things
sure.
to make it look like no one freaking lives in it. And it's like, well, no, it's a home.
Yeah.
Like aside, no, just in the mum edit more of it all, if I may, it'll be so short. But I dropped Erica Sobel, who I hosted for her deep dive, to her Airbnb in Elephant and Castle. And like when we got there, it was just like a housing estate. Like I grew up on a housing estate. Like it just looked exactly like a block, just a normal high-rise block. But like next to the buzzer was just like all these key boxes. And I was just like, this is
it's an Airbnb.
Depressing.
Yeah. I've stayed in a couple of those where it's like the whole building is Airbnbs and they just rent out all the,
Like the fact that that's not like a regulated thing.
Yeah.
Like I just hadn't seen it that starkly before, because generally the Airbnbs that I've stayed in are like new builds or like I'd not seen what I grew up in as social housing for people that needed it. Just turned into... And then when we walked in, I was like, I hope he lives here. And it was just very clear he does not live there. Like it's just a money-making machine. But we were in the lift and I was like... And people were paying like... £100 a night to stay. It's not grotty, like I live in, you know, I grew up in that setting, but I was just like, this is a wild thing. I miss the good old days of Airbnb. Like some of the flats on my road in Margate, like the curtains are open and the bed's all freshly made and it's literally just like a freaking advert. And it's like, that's a basement flat that someone could be living in all the time. Anyway, sidebar.
No, I agree. But I think,
Go Nicole.
You can go and donate if you want to help him on this journey. There's a lot of people who have been sharing.
When you're done, bring back Choreo Masters.
Bring back well, please. That's you gotta do Beyond the Moves. January 2025, Paris.
Okay.
Come on, Nicole. Sort her out. What's up, everyone? We're going to take a quick break so I can tell you about the Capsules YouTube memberships. We've now introduced 2 membership tiers which you can use to support and help us grow. First, the Capsule Contributor tier is £1.99 a month and will earn you a loyalty badge and contribute towards the sustainability of the Capsule's entire platform. Secondly, we have the Loyal Listeners tier, which is £4.99 a month. And here's where it gets good. There will be an extra private episode for every public episode we release, which will be only for the loyal listeners. You can request topics, hear our real and raw thoughts, and get behind the scenes and exclusive content in addition. Every single penny we receive from these memberships will go directly into the Capsule platform, helping us to grow and evolve in so many ways. All you have to do is click the join button in our profile or under this video for more details. We really appreciate everyone's support on the journey so far, and we're super excited to move into this new phase. But first, let's get back to this episode. The other thing is Just Debout came back. We had Recklessly on last week, so we didn't talk about it. Just Debout, if you don't know, to whiz through the history.
Thought you were going to be like, Google it.
Fucking Google it. No, 2020 was a huge, world's biggest battle competition that there was. 2020, it got cancelled the day before the actual event. Because of COVID, it was like one of the first big events.
It was like March, because it was March 2020.
What happened to that the one that Kino won? That wasn't a COVID cancellation, was it?
No, it was a strike from like theater workers in France. Okay. So they like had to shut down the venue.
Right, got it.
So that one got cancelled.
I don't think I ever knew that was the reason, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the French people do love a strike.
They do love a strike.
So that's how come that got cancelled, because it was like the technician. I think it was like the technicians or something like that in the venue that just weren't going to turn up.
What was it called?
Battle at l'Opéra.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
And it never happened.
Yeah,
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But
it died in the egg.
so Just Debout got cancelled the day before, but obviously they'd done all the qualifiers. So all those people that had won didn't get to battle that year. Just Debout got cancelled the next year. Then they tried to bring it back in Dubai, which did not happen for whatever reason. That's what we named the podcast. Did you know that? Oh,
did you?
Yeah, when we used to name the podcast funny names.
Which I miss.
Yeah, me too. We named it just DU and then /BYE.
Good.
Just Dubai.
I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
I didn't know that.
I was proud of that one. So that got cancelled. I don't know why it got cancelled. I don't think it was the most popular idea among the dancers, from what I hear, when they proposed it, because it was very expensive to get there and stuff. It was like, if I'm going to spend that much money, I'm not going to go to a battle. Me personally. Then they brought back Juste Debout Gold, which was like a lot of the like OGs of Juste Debout, people who've done really well over the year, were invited.
Like a bit of an all-star vibe.
Bit of an all-star vibe. They also had like this Top on the Floor app, which so
many tangents.
Without going too much into that, because that's a podcast in itself, the Top on the Floor app basically ranks people across the world based on how many wins they do. Now, for context, the Capsule used to do something where we would post once a week the people that won battles only in the UK. Couldn't keep up without a team. It's fucking insane how many people
win stuff
and how many battles there are. Now, imagine that around the world. So the controversy with Top on the Floor is that what the cool thing is, like, someone will win like a small battle in the UK and just randomly it'll repost on Top on the Floor and it will say blah 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 wins, and then it will say what position they're in and how many points, and everyone was a bit like, who the fuck is this, like God, like how did you know who I was and blah blah, and you've put me in this rank anyway. Then when we come to Juste Debout Gold, I don't think we talked about this, but maybe we did talk about it. There were a lot of the people who were like, basically, if you're top 1 or 2 for certain years on that app, you get invited, basically. And all of the invites were men, and a lot of people were pissed, basically, because there's no women invites. Now, the pushback from that side was they qualified, they won the battles. We're not choosing these people.
Right.
The other people, then the pushback to the pushback was, but there's no way in hell you're clocking every single battle across the entire planet. So that's where we're complaining about the bias. That's what people were saying. It's like, you're going for battles that you know, and that's leading you to, I don't know if it still equates to why there was only men, but there is criticism in both. You only had men invites. Okay, fine. We accept maybe that pushback. But then also, while we're on the topic, this criticism of, are you actually aware of every single battle happening on the entire planet?
No.
It's tough. And then, then it's like, it's not really a fair ranking. And that's why with the Capsule thing, why we kind of stopped it, or let's say put it on pause, because I don't want to bring that back. But it's like, I'd rather not do it than only pick some people.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
A bit different, but I had that with III and wanting to share what everyone's up to. It's just like, unless I'm going to do it for everyone, I just don't do it at all.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to start, because, as I said to the people at the deep dive, it's like, I do have things that I need to sell from time to time. And if that's like swamped by, you're doing this, you're doing that. Until I figure out a way to do it, I just won't do it. Agreed. But I hadn't noticed that it had stopped.
Oh.
Which the III in Brighton's not happening.
Oh. Is it not?
No, because of the low sign-ups. And I was just talking to a friend about I'll just take the posts down. Like, it's just not quietly, a thing. Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be cancelled or postponed or.
You're just gonna Homer back it up into the.
Yeah, just no one's really paying that much attention anyway. Clearly, so it just goes. So all that to say, if you were thinking that it was a bit out of nowhere that it stopped.
I still get I still try, if people tag us in the post where they've won something, I'll obviously share that. We share everything that we get tagged in on our stories anyway. But
do you everything?
Pretty much, as much as I'm on my phone, because still don't have a full social media team.
Yes.
But if somebody tagged, stories are posts I'm more precious about curating, but stories I'm happy for them to be a bit more of a community notice board in a way. All that to say,
Juste Debout
did the gold edition, which was 1-on-1, which is historically not how Just Debout runs. Then they announced 2024 was going to be the return of the old school Just Debout. This time in Germany. Well, Just Debout Gold was in Germany. This one's also in Germany. They must have some partnership with some German arts organization or whatever. They did a 2-on-2 like before, and all the people from 2020 who had qualified were invited back 4 years later to battle.
Nice.
So we had Harry and Marvel, who won Pop-In that year in the UK. And then we also had Joelle and Wesley had qualified somewhere, but I don't know where. In the Netherlands.
Okay.
And then Jev and Clara qualified on the day in Paris. They have like 2 slots per category.
But I think the number of slots in each category varied because it was like they invited back all the people from 2020, and but obviously not everybody could make it back.
So it might not have been 2, but Clara and Jev went there to qualify, so they weren't like previous winners.
They battled Joelle first round.
They got Joelle and Wesley first round. Do you know who won that?
No.
Oh. And then Harry and Nick won their first battle, lost in the second round. But it's an interesting one. I have mixed feelings about Just Debout. I love this one. I think was 5,000 people. Bercy, the old arena, was like 16,000.
Wow.
Wasn't it more than that?
I think 16,000, but I could be wrong.
You're often wrong, so.
Well, that's not nice. I'm
joking.
Shall I Google it?
I'll Google it.
Oh, is that what you do?
You keep talking.
So, I went in 2010 when I think, when Le Twins won hip hop. Yeah, I think so. I went in 2010. It is an experience. Have you been?
Yeah.
Which year did you go?
I think I might have been there in 2010, actually, funnily enough. We didn't even know each other yet.
Who won Pop-In?
Like Nelson, I think. And
Nelson and Day Day.
Yeah. We were 1 in 16,000 people.
Yeah, I had a horrible experience.
Or maybe more.
Horrible, shitty experience. But just not because of the event, because of
French people.
No, not even English people.
7 to 20,000, depending on the event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the way they set it up was around. I think I heard 16,000 at the time.
Okay.
That's huge. 5,000 is still huge.
Yes, yes, it is.
Do you remember? I don't know how well you remember Toronto, where we performed Vice.
Yes.
Remember how big that was?
Yes.
That was 3,000.
Yeah,
I know you're aware of numbers, but I'm just putting in perspective because that was my reference.
No,
I
just wanted to, just from a dance event, I was just looking at the capacity of where Dancers Delight happens.
Oh.
620.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's obviously huge, and like I think there's often a conversation behind the scenes with dancers and battlers about what's the big battle, what's the one to win, because it was for a long time Just Debout.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you win Just Debout, you're the one. There was also a little bit of a circuit, especially for top styles, which I would say included at one point Just Debout, UK Champs, SDK, no, not like Summer Dance.
Funkin' Styles.
Funkin' Styles. I can't remember, maybe KOD. There was a circuit of like, if you won all of those things in 1 year, like you were the fucking king.
Yeah.
And the Breakers have their own version of that with different events, obviously. And then Summer Dance started rising. Mm-hmm. And I think it started to, especially after Just Debout shut down, but I think even before that, it was already starting to creep into people's minds of like, if you had to choose one to win, what means more? Yeah. Or which one do we rate the winner of more? And I think like a lot more people who I was hearing were talking about Summer Dance as opposed to Just Debout. But I mean, either way, I think on an external perspective, without the dancer bias, I think it's amazing to see such huge events, and like it can't be underestimated how hard it is to run those events and get everything right. Like I've been critical of Just Debout for various reasons. I have criticisms of Summer Dance, but it's not to say that what they're doing isn't amazing and isn't putting dancers on a huge platform, which is great. I think what Just Debout did do well this time is something I've been very critical of, is they had a live stream. which they didn't have before. And they would not upload all the battles, and only some would come out, and it would take months. This, they had a full live stream of the whole event, which they did also for Just Debout Gold, which I think is dope. Summer Dance do a thing which I love, which is you only get a free YouTube live stream up to a certain point. Then you pay €5 to watch the rest.
Right.
Which is like the big battles.
Yes.
But in that, you can also vote online. So you have the computer, and it's like, who do you vote for if it goes to a tie? And then they'll consider that. So it will be like the crowd votes. That's one thing that they have one of those volume meters.
Right.
And then they'll look at, actually, it'll come up on the screen for the dancers, and it'll go ching, 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 and like show who the... So you actually vote online, and you feel like you were a part of it. Yeah, which I think is sick. And to be honest, I've always said this, even before Summer Dance were doing it, I think. But I've always said that I would pay for a live stream. If the issue is not being able to afford it, charge us. Like, don't assume that we need a free live stream and then go, well, we can't afford to do it, so we're not doing it.
My assumption has been that people would pay for a live stream.
I would have paid to go there and travel. It's just like, maybe I can't or whatever. But it's like, Summer Dance, €5 for a live stream. It's like, I'll pay, whatever I would criticize of Summer Dance, like, I'll pay €5 to watch a fucking battle. I'd do that every other week, you know. So I think that was great. That Just Debout, I mean, if it's free, even better. BC1 is free every time. The Olympic stuff is free. So Just Debout did this free thing, which is cool. The thing I was, and maybe this is not something I'm going to clip for a reel, but the thing that I was thinking is like, there's rarely like moments from Just Debout. Like, there's moments from Summer Dance that like the clips go viral, or like the dances, like artistically, that like we remember. Like, there's rounds that I remember from years ago of, like, now if I was to get bored and want to watch a battle, I'd go back and like, there's some certain things in Summer Dance.
Right.
For me, like, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority, or maybe there are people that feel like this, but I feel like there isn't, like, the dance isn't, it's just like, okay, yeah, someone won and it's a big deal that they won.
Right.
But going and watching their rounds, like the finals, I'm never looking at the finals going like, oh, that round was sick. I'm just like, okay, yeah, they won. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think there's something that doesn't, like Summer Dance, almost like the people that lose or in the top 16, there's still some amazing, the art is there to it. Whereas in Just Debout, I've never really, not since... Funny you ask. Funny you ask. I do have a theory. I've been thinking about it because that was playing on my mind, and I was like, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like the atmosphere, it's not there? Even when I went, I was like, I don't think I'll need to come back to this. Like, because it's like, it's not really a vibe. It's like, you're so far from the action, and it's one person dancing small. And I think, and I need to look at more events that have this so that I can make it a real theory. I wonder if it's a raised stage thing, because the way Just Debout is set up is you have this raised stage, then you have a huge gap before your first row, and then you have the seats. But even the seats are like tiered in that way. So as you're dancing, the energy just dissipates, I feel like. And I looked at a couple of other battles that had that, and I was like, yeah, they feel a bit empty as well. Battle Bad is a exception to the rule because they have a raised stage, but also that room is fucking packed. Like, there's no gaps, there's no walkways. It's like I saw pictures from last year's Battle Bad, and it's like the entranceway, there's people standing in the doorway like this watching the battle, and it's like, it's packed. So I feel like that's an exception, but often, like Summer Dance is that the Own the Floor battle that we did at Nike, it was like packed, like up to head height, if you know what I mean. It was like that. So, and when someone does something and it explodes, that energy gets caught. People feel like when you're like pushing, or you're, I don't know, energy, not in the spiritual way, but in the actual physical energy. Like, people are feeling that in a bigger way. Like, hits feel bigger when they're here. And then when I cheer or react, the dancer's getting that feedback immediately. Whereas Just Debout feels like it just kind of goes. And like, even when I was there, it's like, again, this is 2010, so it's a long time ago, but it's like me and you could be talking like this in this tone while the battles are happening. It's like the music isn't that. Like Summer Dance is like, you can't hear yourself think. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like the bass is there. Just Debout's a bit concert-y in a way. So that's my theory of why it feels like the dance doesn't really
translate to the scale.
And also, I think because it's so huge, especially in Bercy, but I think it also held a little bit. I think it was a little bit better with this 5,000 seat one, but because it was so huge, and Bercy, like, I think you don't get it until you've been there, because seeing the camera angles, you're like, oh yeah, it's big. But when you're walk into the top, you're like, no, this is disgustingly huge.
Yes.
If you've ever done, well, first of all battle styles started as party styles or club styles or social styles, which means it was very small environments.
Yeah.
So the popping hit didn't evolve to be on a stage like that. It doesn't work. And neither did waves, neither does house steps. Like, this energy is not made for huge concerts. Which is why I think it kind of it ruins the dance a little bit. And not in a way of like it's the stage's fault, it's the dancer's fault, because we haven't had time to adjust to it yet. But I think people tend to overperform these things and like throw big movements and try and be big to fill the space, which again, like, as you know, doing commercial stuff is like, it takes training to be able to dance for big stages and to like perform your movements, and certain types of movements work on big stages, certain don't.
Yeah, it makes me think of like something like the X Factor, or where there's a crowd there, but my job is to perform for the camera.
Right.
And I think it's a similar thing. The crowd are there, but it's you, your opponent, and the judges.
Exactly. And the judges aren't that far.
I do get why like the adrenaline would just be through the roof. And, you know, in the storytelling kind of performer, you'd want to reach everybody.
Sure.
So
and I
like,
think that's what you're trained
it's quite
to do.
a tricky thing to manage.
Yeah. I'm not saying this as if I could do any better. Like, I would lose my shit on Bercy's stage.
No.
But yeah, I think there's a cocktail of things why it doesn't quite hit the same as something like Summer Dance, or why the moments don't feel the same. Like, I've heard people talk about, like, spiritually, people talk more about like...
I'm waiting for you to use energy in a spiritual way, by the way. Yeah. When you do, I'm going to lose it.
No, but I've had people say that like Paradiso has something special about it.
I'd say so, yeah. I was going to say it before.
Yeah. I think it's a set up space type of thing. And I think this is the thing, like, when you go and look at a battle venue, a lot of people just go, is there space for the floor?
Yeah.
Like, you need to look at how and where the crowd are going to move, how they're going to sit. This is what people for concerts do, and like venue planners, it's almost like landscape designers or interior designers. Like, you understand the flow of the room and the space, and how where are people going to enter from? Where are they going to exit? How easily can they get to the bathroom? And if they can't get to the bathroom easily, then are you going to have a room full of aggy people, and therefore it's not going to make a good audience? Like, there's so much that goes into like a venue and its shape, and how does the acoustics reflect off the ceiling? And when you have bodies in the space, they absorb sound. Like, there's so much to it that it's not an easy thing. And I think sometimes what I think is like, some people just, they talk about like an event having some sort of magic to it, or energy to it. I think it's like great venue design in a way. Like, I think Summer Dance has that. It's crowded and there it is a bit cramped, but not too much. Like,
I think Summer Dance is too cramped.
Okay, fine.
Like, I went 2 years ago and I did not enjoy it at all.
Okay, fair.
Just because it's like I had a good space because I could see the battle and I was quite close. But for 6 hours, I could not
move.
When I tell you I couldn't turn, like I couldn't turn because I was just like rammed.
I had a good seat.
So if you don't get there and you don't sit, you're not one of the like 150 people that are sitting and then like not move throughout the whole event,
because you're gonna lose your seat.
Yeah, you're not sitting down, and it's just like I feel like it's something that Summer Dance, like I don't think they're gonna change. I don't think they're gonna change venues, because I think it's like part of the spirit of Summer Dance that it happens there. But I don't think that it's an enjoyable experience from a. Like, the parties are fun, the battles are great, but like as an audience watching the battle, I did not find it enjoyable at all. Like,
I will say, I reckon you might be surprised whether they change venue or not, because eventually like money is gonna win.
Yeah,
it's like if it's sold out like that every single year, and you've got people packing in and people like selling their kidneys to get someone else's ticket,
right?
Which it is. It's a fucking feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
If they go, hold on, we could get a double the size venue and sell this out at some point.
But they just have to like, and it's like Juste Debout.
Yeah.
because it kept growing.
Yes.
And then at some point it starts like going down because it loses something. So I think
it hits like is it called critical mass?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's just like managing that, you know, or finding an alternative venue that is the right place. So I don't know if they're ever going to do that, but I think anyways, like events go through a cycle of like, it's the hypest thing, and then something more underground, like kind of starts being the new hype thing. And then something grows, and then it's like either it doesn't scale to continue growing, or it continues to grow, but it loses some of its essence, or there's problems within the organizations. But I feel like it's always a cycle of like, there's always a new thing that's going to be the thing, and then one of the like kind of staple event then just starts kind of, you know, like UK, like even it happened with UK champs.
But that was more of a like.
But just saying like that thing, an event doesn't stay the event forever.
The same thing.
I don't think it has to fall off.
No,
I think that it can keep growing if you do it in the right way.
But
what that right way is, I don't know.
I will like. III is such a different kettle of fish, but just in terms of running it's hard to manage the growth and the changes whilst keeping it going.
You
almost need a break to reassess.
Because like at what point whilst keeping it going do you pivot if you're managing to keep it going? And you know, how head down into the changes and like the nuts and bolts of it can you really get when you're also still trying to run it, especially something which of that scale already, which must be, you know, however many weeks after one finishes.
It's probably like a week. 2 days off and back in.
So not an easy job.
No, not at all.
But
I rate it. I think I've always said like we need everything. We need all things on all scales, and like I think we need like the Just Debout, we need Summer Dance, we need Battle Bad, we need the smaller ones, you know. But I do also think the new scaling is in length, not in height. So I think it's the festivals that are going to be. That's what I think Summer Dance has done well.
Yes,
is because
interesting.
You know, it's like, and that's what I think. BC1 started doing that and turning their BC1 into a weekend festival type thing. Obviously, Summer Dance, IB, like I think. That is the new
formula.
There's only so much.
Jack of all trades.
There's only so much you can build upwards before the thing starts to fall. And it's how much can you do in one weekend? And it's also now where there's so much demand for events. Am I going to pay for my hotel and blah, blah, blah to come to Paris for one day? Or am I going to go to Summer Dance and I pay my travel and stuff, but I'm there for a week and I can do all these different things. There's theatre, there's classes, there's different battles. Like, I think that the scaling needs to be in length now.
I'll be at World Breaking Classic, so I can be your correspondent.
Go. Yes, please.
Anyone from the UK is there.
I don't know who's going to be there, because also, I mean, we can also talk about that, but I don't know, after this WDSF thing, I feel like people might be all breaking them down. But also then maybe
they'll go to party.
And I think
attached to Jams and Gems.
And World Breaking Classic is maybe a bit more of a let loose, don't take it life so seriously type of vibe. So maybe they'll go for the fun. I don't know.
Very hungover, so
I would love to hear about it. It looks sick. So Just Debout happened. Shout out to the UK people who represented. We appreciate you representing, the same as
we do.
Breakers. We have the OQS events. I think, is it next week? Next week. We might do a pod next week anyway. But 20, we will. I think 21st, 22nd, I believe, is the second OQS event in Budapest. This will determine who makes it to the Olympics.
I'm nervous.
So the top 7 are guaranteed a place. Spots 8, 9 and 10 are maybes depending on some longness, but
you did describe I listened to the longness.
It's there's 2 universality places and then 1 host country. So for example, in the B Girls, there's a spot for the host country, which is Paris. If they make top 24 out of 40, as long as they're in the top 24, they're allowed to take that 10th spot, basically, which is already complicated. Yes. But now to make it more complicated, in the B-Girls, the French B-Girl is in the top 7.
Oh.
So The rule is if you're in the top 24, you're allowed to take the 10th spot, but she's in the top 7.
Okay.
So there might be a spot that's open for
So
somebody
now
else.
that host country spot is now opened for. So now they'll take 8 because she would have qualified even if she didn't get to the top 7, but now she's in the top 7.
Yes.
So now there's an extra spot.
Interesting.
So now there's 8 spots, and then the 2 universality ones are for something else, which I can't remember exactly. But there's a similar thing. If they don't get taken, then you need to go pee or something.
No,
I thought you were getting up.
Devil.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the Olympic breakers. Sunny, Karam, Sheku, I believe, are there. Stephanie, who is a Londoner, even if she's representing Ukraine. Vanessa, who's also a Londoner, even if she's representing Portugal. Hope you guys can all make it to the Olympics. Congrats to those of you that do. And also all of the breakers. I said it last week or the week before,
massive,
but
man.
we love you all.
It's
Shout out to Lee and all the friends of the show. So I think, shall we talk about Dancing for the Devil, and then we can answer
with the devil.
Dancing. No, it's for the devil. Yeah, because the guy was the devil.
Is it for? Really?
I think it's for, Dancing for the Devil, because he's the devil. And Dancing for the Devil. Dancing for the Devil, and then we can do audience questions at the end as well.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
So, for those of you that haven't seen Dancing for the Devil, it is a Netflix 3-part docu-series about what they are labeling a cult, which was based around TikTok dancers that were managed by, or they gained a manager who was the pastor?
Yeah.
Pastor? Like, how do you say that in an English accent?
Pastor.
You say
Rain?
pastor. I think that's Rain.
Wild.
He was the pastor of a church, and he offered to be their manager because I guess their management company wasn't doing the do at the time, which I guess is just normal business. He said, I could do this. And you would have seen the dancers that they're talking about. There's a bunch of them. I would say Google Dancing for the Devil if you want to see who we're talking about. But the main one that is focused around is this girl called Miranda. And there's a few others. Some are named, some are not. Like, I know the guy in it, Concrete, is a crumper.
Concrete,
but also Tight Eyes is heavily part of this. And, I'm sure there's crumpers that we'll talk about.
I didn't know that.
He was like way in with them. So he wasn't in the documentary at all.
No.
So, which leads me to think he's still doing.
But he's also not, well, I'm sure since the documentary came out, some of that would have changed. But like, it doesn't say that he's affiliated with them on his Insta.
But neither does it with the Miranda girl.
Okay, got it.
So,
and also, I think it's like there's nothing that says the name of that management company anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Like,
so, because there was like pages that came out going exposing 7M and all
Got
this.
you.
So it's a bunch of TikTok dancers who, in essence, were managed, and they seemingly it worked for a while because they were getting all these gigs and getting adverts, getting the TikToks were blowing up and doing huge numbers and stuff. They were getting ads, they were getting all these opportunities, they were getting shows, etc. And then kind of what came out was that they were not only paying horrendous like cuts to their management company, but also paying like money to the church and donations, of which in the documentary they kind of say are like not enforced, but like heavily suggested that you should be paying these cuts.
Yes.
And there was also in there some, it was a bit loose, I think, unless I'm misremembering, but there was some allegations of like sexual assault and stuff, which there was people that were like past cult members who weren't dancers. Their stuff sounded like heavy, but from the dancers, I don't know that I heard much actual stuff from them. It was more just this woman who was like a past member who had left. She said, oh, there was some crazy like sexual assault and just assault.
It felt like it needed the TikTok element to make it sellable, but that the real weight of the documentary was in the people that had been there for decades.
Yeah, the
and
people
they didn't really
connect,
do well to make them matter to each other. It was like two separate things, I thought.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess also the main girl that it was centered around, it was like her and her family, and she's still a part of it.
Bless them.
And they were kind of coming out saying we've lost our daughter and we don't speak to her and she doesn't want to speak to us. Did you see she put out a statement?
I didn't see her statement.
She put out a statement kind of being like, it's a two-sided story and they've, you know, been heavily biased, and like I didn't want contact with my family because I didn't agree with how they were speaking about my lifestyle and blah blah. She also didn't address a ton of stuff that they said in the documentary. Like it's like she watched the first episode and then made a statement about the first episode, because there's a bunch of stuff. It's like, yeah, but also what about the rest of it? Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else I've missed? I think that's it. Like it kind of ends with half of the people featured left. There's also
everyone that took part is not in it. Basically, everyone that's interviewed.
Yeah, everyone that's in the documentary has left. Yes, of course.
Nobody that's still involved, like,
was in the documentary.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, apart from their like content.
Yes, and there's some people that I know, or like let's say I suspect outside of this that weren't in the documentary that I think are maybe still in it, and I also think there's some people that aren't in the documentary that have left. So I think there's other players in the thing. Sure. I didn't know anything about this.
No, Devin mentioned it to me while he was here. Friend that I hosted a deep dive for, and I was like, I have no idea like what you're talking about. I've never even heard of 7M. Like I don't know anything.
I guess also maybe it's a more LA thing. Like if we were there, maybe we'd know.
TikTok, like I don't have that.
But also I feel like I didn't know what it was, and then when I saw who it was about, I was like, I have seen these people on Instagram for
I knew the TikTokers.
Yeah.
I knew them.
Did you?
Yeah, from years, but I'd seen them, and then I always thought like I just attributed it to it being a TikTok thing and me not really understanding TikTok. I was like,
it's weird.
Why do these videos feel so weird?
There's a girl with locks. I think she's got locks. She's like a mixed race girl with like green eyes, and it's always her and one other person doing that same kind of like manipulating stuff. And
I know who you mean. That's Blueprint. I don't think that's the same people.
Oh, okay. Because just that style of thing.
Yeah. There's crossover. I think there's people that have done videos with them that are in the other thing.
Right.
But I think the Reno guy who's apparently still in it, I think he did videos with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think she did a lot of stuff with Blueprint, and I think they're separate. I could be wrong.
Right.
But fine. I think they're separate. But yeah,
I don't remember seeing it and thinking demons. Like didn't think that, but I do remember thinking like weird.
It does. I don't. But then now I don't know, and now I can't be unbiased because now I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, that did always feel weird. But then I'm like, is that because I just saw the documentary and I'm
not weird in like that is anything to do with the documentary that we watched, but just like I don't know.
I did, but I feel like part of it for me, and that's why I said like I always felt it was weird, and then seeing the documentary, I was like, that's why it was fucking strange vibes, but. At the same time, there's so many weird things on TikTok. Like there's people that are like for like 6 hours, and then people are paying hundreds and thousands of dollars to watch this.
I don't have TikTok.
So me too. But it's like there's so much of it that I don't understand and that feels so strange to me. So I just kind of attributed those videos to like just another thing that is
not your
that I just don't get.
Yeah, fair.
But now I'm like, I just don't get it because it was a devil. No, I'm joking. But
I do remember making jokes about that. Like, I remember making jokes being like, they look like they're being forced to do this. But I thought it was like because they're making money off it. They were just like forced to keep doing it. But come to find out.
They were.
I mean, the thing is, documentaries are lethal in the sense that like, I could believe anything if like I've watched documentaries about like ancient aliens building the pyramids and kind of gone, that does sound like it could be the case. So I mean, it's like whatever you want to convince me of, like
I was listening to a podcast about reality TV, and one of the producers did say like even documentaries are like scripted, because there's an edit, like there's still like
they want to sell a narrative.
There's still a storyboard of like
Well, I mean, I've done some like I did a couple of workshops in like filming for documentaries, and like it's like you have to like kind of understand the narrative, and like if you think of you watch The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan one.
I've watched it many times.
Even with that, it's like if you watch like, and we spoke about also the Dr. Dre one, right?
Yes. Please watch if you haven't. You're not a football person, are you?
No, but I would watch it if it's a documentary.
The about Man City winning the treble.
Okay.
Man
United.
No, City.
Oh.
They won it like a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
City are better than United now. It's not the 90s. No, because it was a thing to me too.
Yeah.
I don't follow football anymore, but
right.
like I remember being like City weren't a thing when we were younger.
Right.
But it's a very good sports documentary.
Okay,
anyway,
I'm in.
As you were.
But why I was saying that was what? What was I saying?
Last Dance. Something to do with
The Last Dance. If you think about how fucking intricate that story is, like we're telling you the story of this happening, and it's 5 different interviews that are like, like it's like you saying, yeah, and then I said, and then it's me finishing off your sentence. Like it's so, and I've tried. It's so impossible to have like a coherent, not only narrative but also overlapping interviews by accident. You can't just interview randomly 5 people and then make it. It's like you have to ask the same question in 5 different ways until you get what you want. You have to ask them to repeat stuff. You have to like be very specific. Like you have to come with the narrative beforehand. So almost every documentary has an agenda.
What did you think of this documentary?
I think they definitely wanted to sensationalize it as a cult. I mean, the TikTok people alone, it does sound like a terrible business deal because, and this is where either you're brainwashed or you just made bad decisions, because like they're saying like, oh, we had to pay this much, this fee, then this fee, then this fee, then the thing to the church and blah, blah, blah. And some of them weren't even religious before they started. First of all, the minute you start talking about God to me in a business meeting, I'm going to leave. Secondly, when it's like, look at all the conversations we have, and maybe this is the whole thing of like...
It's like you can barely say the word energy, right?
I'm out.
Our vibrations are, gotta go. But like maybe this is the thing of like, not all of these dancers were professional dancers. Maybe I don't know their backstories, but it sounds like they were TikTokers, which is like like you going into meeting and then being like, right, this is your fee, this is your thing, this is the cut, you'd be like, okay, first of all, no, like, could you not? Thanks. Like, so I think this is maybe where it's easier for them to get like, oh, this is normal. You give this, and they maybe didn't have anyone to guide them, because I don't imagine that being able to happen to any professional dancers for a long period. I
don't know, because like Concrete's a professional.
Is he? Like, does he have like professional experience before this?
I think. Well, he did the Renaissance tour, and I can't imagine that was his first job.
Yeah. You know what?
But it's like, how do you hear that business deal and go,
no, but
sure?
It's because this is the thing, and this is why it's like, you know, I think this is the point that the documentary is making, and from experience also, like
being in a cult.
Yeah. No, but even like growing up dancing, and in my like late teens, early 20s, it's like I was fortunate to have like a mom that was quite not involved in what I was doing, but she always had an eye on the people I was around.
Right.
And like there was people that, you know, she didn't like, or she didn't get a good vibe, and she was always kind of, you know, not very far from what was going on and advising and stuff. But I think it's like in that world, I wanted it so much. Like it's like I wanted to dance and do stuff and be out there and be part of things that, like, you know, I don't consider myself a like stupid person, but at the same time, if there had been really bad people around me at that time,
they could have,
like, I could have gotten roped into some things that
also,
were really sketchy.
Not to mention they're making hundreds of thousands of
dollars. I was going to say, like, a 30% off 5-6 figures is still
fair.
And it's like, I feel like, you know, it's like preying on people's ambition, but also on their desire to be part of something. And it's like, it creates a little bit of a community, like within that small group of people. And then I
guess they were younger as well, if we're giving them.
I don't know how old they were, but it's like, all of, you know, I know some are native to LA, but some of them also like moved to LA. Yeah. So then it's kind of, you're in family in this jungle, like trying to make it in the industry away from all the people that like hold you down.
Yeah, so, you can see how it could happen.
So I think that
you can't.
I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, no, but it's just like, and especially, you know, also I think there, like you said, there were people that were not religious, but there were also some people that were very religious, and that were looking for that,
how to do
both. And they were looking for that spiritual guidance and that, like, you know, kind of church environment. So it's like, that's why these like cults or these organizations like prey on people that are looking for that, which is why it's so evil also, because it's like there is a certain level of vulnerability when people are like looking, like seeking guidance, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing, because also what I do think that they sensationalize a lot is like the fact that it's a church at all. Like the fact that it's a religious thing, they tried to make it of like, yeah, and he made us go to mass and like make that into a thing where like I know plenty of people that are very religious, and like Dennis is very religious person, and he talks about God a lot in his journey and stuff like that, and it's not weird, it's just like that's his faith and that's what he likes. So I think the makers of the documentary know that anything religious is going to be a cult, like it's a cult buzzword almost. Like
I think the cult bit is in like isolating them from their surroundings. But I find it, I know it's like they're not separate things, but it was how he went from like sermon to business seminar in like seconds. And like, you know, religious people aren't anti money, but just like the focus on, you know, the financial success that you'll have. And it's just like, which is it? But it was also the don't talk to your family, and then
talk to
your family,
because that will
there's bits in it, and when Luke and I spoke about it initially, like I've been in like in the context of like romantic relationships, situations where all of my friends are like, oh my God, get out. And I'm just like, but I love him. But like literally everybody is like, no, get out.
Yeah.
So I know what it is to be like blinded by a thing, but you are until you're not. And I think those family bits, not even the initial cutoff, because I can get how that happens. And I'm sure it wouldn't have been a swift, like stop talking to them. Like it's very, you know, manipulation happens like over time and very slowly, and you don't really know that it's happening. But then when that's flipped, I'm sure it was also done very slowly. But you've still got your wits about you to a degree. You'd be like, no, but wait, how speak to them again? I really did feel for the parents in the like not mentioning it. Like Miranda would only stay around if they didn't bring it up. And like, I don't know if I'd be able to manage that. I got their point. Like it's the only way we get to see her. But I loved that their other daughter was like, but we don't, I can't remember what the mum said, but it was as if like the situation was, you know, being discussed and everything was above board. And like the other the sister was just like, we don't bring it up, like we're not dealing with it.
I mean, there's nothing that like, no matter how much my parents like hated something I was doing, I'd be like, I'd want to talk about it. I'd be like, what is it that you hate so much? I need to understand why you hate this thing that I'm doing so much. And like, how can I, like if they were like, oh, I hate this capsule thing that you're doing, I'd be like, can you come and watch the pod? Come to an event. Like, please, like, can I introduce you to people that we work with? Like, how can I make you understand? Because I'd be like, I wouldn't be like,
nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, if I believe there was nothing wrong with it. That's the thing where I'm like, the behavior's a bit like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's like a different type of family or whatever, but to be the person, not only the family, but like to be the person being like, I'm happy to go and hang out with my family as long as they don't bring up this thing that they hate about me or the thing that I spend my life doing. I'd be
No, but I think, yeah, there's just some people that is like, you know, and I think that's part of the like brainwash and the whatever, but it's like separating you from like, oh, you're walking with God and people don't understand it. And they're like, if they're trying to pull you away from it, it's because they're evil and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, there is no reasoning. Like there is no right or logic, wrong. It's just like, you don't see like what I'm doing, so there's no point in discussing this. So it's like, I don't even want, you know, and like, I think that's the whole point of,
I think that's the
manipulation, but of isolating people where it's not a reasonable conversation that can happen.
I think the thing with religion, where it is a thing of like blind faith, anyone that you trust that represents that religion is in a position where they can make you blindly have faith in anything. So why is it that we have faith that, I don't, but we have faith that like, if you pray, God will hear it, right? So then now if someone goes, oh, if you eat this thing, it's a representative of his body and that's what Jesus said. Why? Oh, because, I don't know, this book says it. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, this book also said if you give money to the church, you're going to go to heaven. And it's like, yeah, well, it kind of does say that. Yeah, all right, cool. And it kind of says in this chapter, if you read it the right way, if you do this, then you'll also, and it's like, it's very easy for someone with nefarious intentions to like manipulate religion, because you're starting from a place of blind faith, you know? It's very hard to manipulate, or harder, I guess, to manipulate someone that's like myself is like atheist, because it's like, I have no blind faith in anything. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to get me there. You have to really manipulate me into that. And it's, to be honest, it's like also, I've never really been like manipulated, and maybe that's why I'm kind of naive about it. But like, there's even things like, you know, I could be with someone for like 8 years, and it's like, if there was like certain things said, it would immediately raise a red flag. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
But this,
no matter how much I trust someone, if it was my mom, I'd be like, I'm not sure you should be saying that, you know?
Yeah, but also it's like, you know, it can happen at different points in people's lives, but it's like, I think that the people who are likely to get into something like this are people that have like certain levels of vulnerability.
Yes, is it a very like there's, I mean, this is like something,
and it's like in even with other cult documentaries that I watched, it's like people who are like desperately like wanting to find their soulmate and the love of their lives, and it's like this is such a important thing in your life that you're kind of willing to let go of like part of yourself to find that. So whether that's like a community or spirituality or love,
or you're just going through tough times and you need someone to get you out
exactly of it. So it's like, not like, I don't want to be like negative, but there are people out there that are like preying on people with those vulnerabilities people, at different points in their lives. And there are these people that exist in our own communities or in the like adjacent like industries or organizations. So I think it's like such an important thing to, you know, not everybody has good relationship with their own family, but to have, you know, to trust like the people that are close to you and that have cared about you since day dot, you know,
at least hear them out and like,
even if it's a relationship and everyone is like, get out. Also, you know, I've been in one, but
no, your friends say he's the best.
But I just think that it is a reality of life, and although we can look at a documentary like this and kind of be not judgmental, but like, how could they buy that? That looks so bad. Like, if I would hear that, I would never fall for something like that. But you know, I think
our weak spots.
Yeah, and these things are also insidious.
Insidious.
Like, Insidious. Okay, sure.
I think
depends. Let her finish the sentence.
Yeah, let a girl talk.
I don't know what the word is supposed to be.
Yeah, but I think that like you don't see, it's not as blatant like from the outset, and I think, like I said, at different times in our lives we might have been vulnerable to different kinds of manipulation. So I think it's more looking at things like that and checking ourselves and our own blind spots in these areas, whether it's now or at a past time or maybe in the future. But like, although I would like to think I could not get wrapped up in a cult now. Like,
but I will say there are levels to this. Like, this is an extreme version.
Sure.
I think there's like the relationship version. There's also gentler manipulation, which maybe isn't as drastic as that, but it's still manipulation. And I think one thing I would say to everyone listening is there's no shortcuts to anything. And if something's too good to be true, if something's too easy, like if you're in a terrible situation, you're I don't know, not feeling good about yourself or whatever it might be, the person that comes and solves all your problems should be a red flag, I think. It's very rare that like you have someone that just swoops in and fixes everything.
Yeah.
And I think often I know people that are like, I know people now, right now, that are like drawn to people like that because they just want someone to tell them. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I'm lost. Life is hard. Being freelance as a dancer is hard. Oh, if I do this, that person is going to make everything okay too. Oh, that person is a success. So I'm just going to do everything they tell. And people that, I've had people come to me for like mentoring or stuff that have had this sort of attitude. And I've said, don't even listen to, like, if you're listening to me too much, it's a bad thing. And that's my advice as your mentor is stop listening to me only. Like you should have not only me, but you should have a circle of people and you should aggregate all of the advice you get and make your own fucking decision. Don't do just what I tell you because I'm just coming from one biased point of view. And it's a dangerous thing to get wrapped up in like one person is your everything, if you know what I mean. Like I've always had people that I've trusted for different things in different ways and like emotional stuff, dance stuff, battle stuff, whatever. And I think, but at the end of the day, I always run it through a filter of, yeah, but what do I want to do? And I see a lot of people that, whether it's relationships, dance stuff, whatever, they just do what they're told because it's stressful and hard to think for yourself. Yeah. And to decide what you want to do. And I get that we go through things of needing mentors or needing, you know, for some of us, it's our parents or some of it's our dance teachers or whatever. But it's like, you have to, as kind of, it's not sad in a way because I'm not only saying it can be in like there's the dangerous element of it, which is the nefarious stuff, but it can also just be like someone's giving you their biased view on the world, which is like let's say with the people that I've spoken to and I'm you know, I'm teaching them to dance or I'm teaching them about the battle scene or teaching them to freestyle. It's like, yeah, but you shouldn't only listen to me because I don't think I'm wrong, but I'm not the full truth. So go and learn from that person and that person. And if you come up with a different view on the world than me, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means we have different views and we're different people. And we should all have slightly different views on the world, you know, based on our experiences. But I think it's a bit dangerous to just take everything one person tells you as fact, whether that gets into those crazy territories or it just gets into like you just grow up to be a clone of that person.
Yeah, it's very reliant and not a sense of self so much.
Which I think for me is like one of the most important things in life. It's like who you are and
well, I hope that all the people that are in it or whatever version of it is existing now are okay and
sending love.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Well, not prayers. Thoughts and thoughts.
Thoughts and thoughts.
You've got enough prayers.
Thoughts and thoughts.
Yeah.
Less prayers for you.
Yeah.
But as little prayers as you need. But or as many prayers. I don't know. Okay. I just hope these people are
good wrapping up of the topic. Should we go audience questions?
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
I don't know how many we'll get through, but let's try.
Oh, there's lots.
There's lots. We're not going to do all of these because some of them are silly and some of them also we covered.
Well, we should do the silly ones, but just quick.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, should I put a timer on for each? Maybe we could do them all, but it's like a minute. Yeah. That's too short.
Or it's just
2
like
minutes.
Only one of us answers unless somebody has something burning to say.
No, I think we can. All right, we don't have like 4 minutes to do that thing. Let's just do quick on. Let's keep them short, and we'll remind each other if we need to keep them short. Also, I'm the one that never keeps them short.
Yeah.
Starting hip hop late in the game. Thoughts on that? Because I asked for topics and questions, so some of them are topics, some of them are questions. Starting hip hop late in the game.
Not
I don't
an
think
authority on the matter.
Not an authority on the matter.
I think there's not a time to start anything in life. I think if you want to start something and you want to do it, do it. I just started jiu-jitsu last year. Am I a 33-year-old woman too old to fight guys? Probably. But do I enjoy it? Yes. So
do it. Yeah.
Do it.
Also, the good thing with creative arts is that you can create around your physical
abilities.
So people that are in wheelchairs can still enter popping battles. People that, whatever, there's a whole crew called Ill Abilities that like are amazing breakers. So if they can do it, you can, I'm a bit older and my back hurts. You'll find a way to create around what your body can and can't do. Doesn't mean you need to be doing backflips, but, you know, focus on a style that's a bit more static or whatever. Just be an animator.
30 is not old.
No one said 30.
Oh, I thought you said 30 later.
You said 30.
Oh.
So starting hip-hop late in the game. They might be 67.
Right.
The political brackets non-political role of an artist, the political impact of a piece, etc., etc.
What's the question?
That's the topic, I guess. Is your thoughts on the political? I'm gonna paraphrase this, I guess, because I read it verbatim. But should a piece have political impact? Should it not? Is it important to have political input into your piece, etc., etc.? Mine's quick, so I'll just say I don't think you can tell anyone how to express not only their art or themselves, but also their political views. I think it's a personal thing, and I don't ever really agree with like forcing other people to do things the way I would do them, or forcing other people to do things the way other people would do them. I think that's a very personal decision. Even if collective change is what's needed, I still think you can't sacrifice. Like, it has to come from each person's heart. It can't come from pressure, in my opinion.
I've made things that are like steps in an order that go to music, and then the one piece that I've made that counts as like a theatrical piece of work is political, I think, just with gentrification. Yeah. Gentrification being the topic. And I will say for members of my community that I encourage you to like dig around with topics that you care about outside of like the music that you like, because what that work has done for me, and like stuff that is happening around it that isn't even dance now, like it's really fulfilling. And, you know, at my age, I'm increasingly interested in the non-physical aspect of my dance life, but that it has added weight, not for how it's received necessarily, but also that like I'm engaging with people that aren't dancers, like through that thing that I made, and having like the most fruitful and interesting conversations about things that I care about that would 100% not have happened if those same people had seen me dancing to like Orion's Belt. So I don't think it's mandatory for the reasons that you said, but I definitely got a lot out of it.
I think it's like, you know, like the word political or non-political is like also not a spectrum, but it's like, okay, if I'm a woman of color going on stage and saying XYZ as opposed to like a white man, it's like, well, it's saying something different. So it's like, I think the body that you put on stage anyways makes a like political statement, depending on where you are in the world. Also doing this could have very different like political implications. So I think, you know, what you put on stage means and says something in itself. So I think the degree to which you want to lean into actually like an issue or an observation or a perspective of the world that's informed by your experience is like going to be, you know, like is informed by kind of some degree of politics. Now I guess it's like, okay, if you're talking about a current conflict that like the whole world is involved in, or, you know, it's like now if you make a piece about like feminism, it's not such a hot political topic because it's like a very widely accepted conversation. So it's like maybe not as political as it was like 15 years ago, but it still is like a political statement. So I think it's more important to like Tali said, to express something that you genuinely care about, or something that you want to say, or something that you like have in your heart to express. And I think it will kind of inevitably be political.
And and I think like one thing I really like is that the idea of like us all taking care of our corner of the universe in that way. Yeah. Like, as much as, I mean, I might get slaughtered for this, but as much as like people pretend that they can care about everything, or they can like oh yeah, I care about all the causes, and like I'm gonna make change. You might care about all the causes. There's nothing that I've heard about negative in the world that I've been like, I don't even care about that. Yeah, I care about it all, but can I make change in all of those things? Absolutely not. And if you say you can, you're lying, right? And you're just doing it for clout. So I think, but like I think the idea where we all pick something we care about and we don't judge each other about what that thing is that you care about. Because like I have friends that like when we were younger used to get really annoyed with a lot of these like people that are really like vocally vegan or whatever, because they were like black friends of mine that were like, are you this vocal about racism, or do you care more about cows than you do about black people? Do you know what I mean? They were like, yes, okay, you're vocal about that, but then you say you care about everything. But the main thing I hear you talk, so it's like, if we're gonna do this, like, or we just accept that you care about that thing, fine. I care about my thing, and we all take care of our things. But if you're gonna start criticizing people, it opens up a can of worms, because now it's like, well, now let's look through the history of what you've cared about, and I'll name you 27,000 other things that are bad happening in the world that you haven't said anything about, and then. You know, I just don't think we can start pointing fingers. It's like if we all pick our corner of the universe, focus on that, care about it, within our circle, like try and be the best people we can and make the most change, we can also survive life without going insane, I think is, you know, because otherwise you're just going to be depressed. And it's like sometimes there isn't much you can do.
No, like there is a sense of like helplessness at the moment, I think, if we all zoom out. But if we even specifically to dance in our community, it would be a much richer place, and I think we'd all have a greater sense of each other as people if we were making work about things that we cared about.
I think work should always be something that you care about. Like with anything, like if I did this podcast and and this is funny, like full circle kind of thing. The whole point of this podcast was like, I was sick of dance interviews. Was like, you don't care about the questions that you're asking. Right, you're just sitting down with a famous dancer you're going to meet twice in your life, and you're going to say, oh, so when did you start dancing? Oh, Michael Jackson inspired you. Okay, cool. Like, what's your favorite color? Like, and I was like, nah, if we're going to talk to these people, like, talk about shit that you care about and that you really want to know and that moves you. And like, I think anything that you do, and the Capsule wouldn't have like the fucking 183 podcasts for free. I got paid for like 3 of them, but it's like, it wouldn't have survived this long if I didn't care so much every time I sit down. And I think any dance work that you're doing, photography, I say this when I'm teaching people about like photography or video. It's like if I'm doing a portrait shoot with someone, right? Your pictures of the person should reflect your view / opinion on that person. Like not opinion in like I think they're a nice person, but like what, like if I'm shooting you and someone else is shooting you, we should have different pictures, because what I'm thinking is, what do I think looks nice about Tally? What do I want to highlight? How do I think the light should hit her? And that's when I look at the picture and I go, I like that picture of Tally, it's because it's my opinion of what makes you beautiful, right? And someone else should have a different opinion of that. And I think it's the same with our dance work. Like if we put something on stage, it's, why do you care about this? And that can be for a multitude of reasons. It doesn't have to be about like, it doesn't have to be about specific things, but you do have to care about the thing, I think. Otherwise, I can't imagine, even as a producer, I can't imagine the work would go far if you didn't deeply care about the thing that you're doing and feel like it makes some sort of change in the world in some way, shape or form, no?
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Advice for new freestylers.
Do it.
What does that mean?
Practice, commit to doing it.
I feel like that's the best advice. You just have to do it.
You do just have to do it.
In your bedroom only, or you should get out? I'm being biased here and adding my...
Yeah.
In all the contexts, do it as often as you can, as much as you can, as fast and hard as you can.
Pause.
Yeah, like I did the, what were we called? Links.
Oh yeah, capsule links, yeah.
And I was like, oh God, no. Outside of Jay's, outside of the content bit, I was not in a cypher. I was like, this isn't how I freestyle. I don't do it in this context. So if that is what you want to get comfortable with eventually, do it now.
Yeah. I think do it. And then there's a Mr. Beast who's a YouTuber, the YouTuber. He has a thing which I always give people this advice with content. He said, don't worry about all the details. Make 100 videos, and each video try to be 1% better than your last video. Just do it. Just because it's also the mileage that's going to help you. I think the same applies for freestyle. It's not like get really good and then that first time you enter, you're going to fucking win Just Debout. It's like just do 100 outings and each time try and be a little bit better.
Yeah, it's like dance for a half an hour every day. You're going to get better.
That's true. The importance of having a portfolio career.
I don't know what that means.
Know what that means. Maybe like lots of different things.
Wide range of different.
I've heard the phrase before. Let me Google it. Portfolio career.
I don't think it's important. I think it's really fucking hard to do.
Variety of roles rather than one job.
But it's like, this is the thing. I don't think that it's like having a portfolio career is going to work great for certain people. And then just doing one thing is going to work great for another person. It depends what your interests and what you're passionate about and how you best operate. And like, I think following your curiosity and your interests is a better indicator. Like if you're only interested in choreographing and you don't want to hear anything about the rest of the world except for I want to make work and choreograph, it's like, then why would you learn how to do Excel spreadsheets? Like that's just a waste of time. So I think if you have a tunnel vision, if you're a tunnel vision like singular focus kind of person, then do that. If you're someone with a lot of interests, also worth pursuing. There's not a cookie cutter answer.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up more things because I found more things that I enjoyed doing and I hadn't stopped liking the first thing, rest. But if I could make my living from one, I probably would, to be honest. Because it's skill sets, interests and abilities across all of those things, but it's also a separate skill to manage them all. So that's got to be factored in as well. You can like as many things as you want and want to dabble as much as you want, but can you actually keep those things afloat? And not everyone can, and that's really okay.
Yeah, believe me, it's not easy.
No.
Is cereal a soup?
Yes.
I'm going to say absolutely not. I think soups are explicitly savoury.
Oh, interesting.
If something is not savoury, it's not a soup.
That's not what I thought. I think it's
because isn't there this theory that everything is like a soup or a sandwich?
I have heard that. Is that the two? Is it soup and sandwich?
I think so. Something like that.
Like pizza is a sandwich, burger is a sandwich.
Yeah, burger is obviously a sandwich.
All right, relax. Fucking hell.
But like curry's a soup.
Yeah. But curry's more a soup than cereal's a soup.
What's a chow mein?
Chow mein's a soup, yeah, it would have to be. If those are our only two options, it would have to be a soup.
Yeah. So
what's a shoe?
Sandwich.
A shoe?
Yeah.
No,
it's food only.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Everything's a soup or a sandwich. I was like, guys, this is stupid.
Wait, okay,
what's a country? A soup.
Yeah, I was like,
is Tally a soup or a sandwich? I think you're a soup, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're a sandwich and I think Tally's a soup.
I think you're a snack.
Soup,
baby. Okay, moving on. Why so few dancers want to learn from legends when such games are in London?
Interesting.
I mean, there's battle parallels with this, but yeah, go on.
I think there's something about London and just like the oversaturation of just so much choice.
Yeah.
I think that is a major issue. I mean, with Erica specifically, like I learn increasingly, I'm not a marketing expert. And, you know, if I'd announced it in January and just like slowly built towards a thing happening in June, may have had different results. But yeah, I think also we are, with the internet, even if that everything just feels within reach.
Yeah.
Like everything's just a plane ride away. So if you miss it, there's that camp, or I'll get to LA at some point, or even if like you won't, there's just something in being able to see it all. It just feels a lot more tangible and within reach than it used to when we were learning. If someone was in town, that was the only opportunity.
When I did like Lyle Beniga's workshop or like had Keone and Mariel in class with me, like there, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
Like I've seen 2 blurry YouTube videos of them, and besides that, like I've just heard story. Like it's not like you see them on Insta, you see them at this, and also they weren't traveling as much. I wasn't traveling as much. Like, and
we weren't in receipt of them as people with, you know, the content and stuff. So not only do we see more of their work, but like we're let in a different way. It just all feels deceptively accessible. So the urgency to be there isn't there. I'll also add on that there's just a real thing at the minute, which is so fine as part of like a greater training regime, but I'm witnessing like everyone's just extremely keen to learn from no one but their mates, it seems. And I'm talking about quite young dancers in their early 20s who, again, I think I put it on a story post with, it might have been about Erica, I'm not sure, but like there are some insanely talented young people, legends among them, I'm sure, in years to come, but there's just no way on God's green earth that they can teach you what someone who's been doing it for 20 years can. There's just no way. And whether you find older dancers to be preachy, like a little bit boring, the choreo that they're teaching just isn't of the moment, like there's a reason why it is not of the moment because they are not of the moment. The moments were built on what they created. And I think I said it with Brooks judge round. It's like, while we're around, and I do include myself in this, while we're around, get at us because
one day we won't be active. And I'm not saying you'll be sat around like, oh, I wish I could learn from these people. You might not, but you'll have missed a trick and your longevity will be affected by the fact that you haven't learned from your elders. And
I think I'll save the battle stuff for another pod because there's a little bit of a different dynamic at play because of the competition element where it's like people are more competitors than they are dancers in
students.
A way. Yeah. So it's almost like coming to your class will affect me being able to battle you next time because there's a hierarchy thing and I want to be seen as a standalone, you know, and there's also a level of pride in having built it yourself, which I think is a misguided thing, but it's still a thing in that people want to have done it themselves.
Also don't think enough teachers, maybe not so young, I don't think, like, I speak on it mostly in III, don't get me wrong, it's not coming out in like a 90-minute choreography class, but my students know who my teachers are, so they have that curiosity to learn from them. I don't think many people are letting the rooms that they're in know who taught them and like where to get like the not even foundation from a style perspective, but the stuff that I am built on, those people still exist. Go seek them out. And I think that we kind of have a responsibility to do that if we're wanting to build future generations to have not substance, I'm not saying it's lacking that, but just, you know, really well-rounded training.
I'm with you. Should we try and speed through the last few? No, sorry, it's me as much as anyone else. Learning to deal with conflict between artists and company, how to train that skill and muscle. I'm not sure. Learning to deal with conflict between artists and the artists
like the
and
company that you're working for, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. How to train that skill. Or the conflict between artists and the conflict between... No, what you said is right. How to train that skill muscle. I think it's just...
communication.
Yeah, doing it.
Yeah, practicing, getting good at communication, and also not being afraid of conflict. Coming from me, I have historically been afraid of conflict, but not in a business sense, actually. Yeah, I think you taught me a lot about that.
Yeah, like I'd have no issue with it. Like some of the talent that I look after, it's a real thing, and like I'm talking to them about. There's certain bits that I could take on, but like just in a learning thing, like you do it, and I'm in the thread, so I'll be able to see and. it's just not knowing your place, but it's a value thing, isn't it? And like,
yeah,
no, I have a problem, and like it needs to be heard, even if it can't be solved. Like it deserves to be addressed. Yeah, and I think that is an us problem. I don't think it's a them problem. Like it is where we place ourselves within.
Yeah, it's the way you approach. If you come like, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you, but if you wouldn't mind, could I please? And it's like, hey, I need to fix this thing, or this doesn't work for me. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, oh, there's nothing we can do about that right now, or whatever. Like I've had, as many things be turned down as be accepted, like in terms of issues I've had, but. Doesn't mean you can't voice, hey, I'd prefer if we do this, or I need a bit more money for this, or that part of the contract isn't working for me. Like you can't be too shy. You have to just do it a lot.
Yeah. Also, it's like in approaching and communicating about conflict within a company is it a conflict about a professional issues, or is it a personal issue that you have with somebody in the company, or is it like with the way things are being handled because you don't like it, or because it's not professional, or because it's like not, so I think
you have to find your reason.
Yeah. And untangling like what part of the conflict is like a professional matter and what part of the conflict is like a personal, because I think also one of the things that can be difficult is like when you work within a company, especially in like an R&D or a residency, and it's a lot of people from your communities and it's your friends, it's like the professional and friendship dynamics can get tangled. So I think it's a good practice to like untangle exactly what you're upset about or what the conflict is in your view, and then to see who is the best person to address for each issue. Yes. Like if it's a scheduling, communication issues, then how do you establish that channel with someone? And if it's something that just needs to be addressed one-on-one with a specific member of the company, then that's a different conversation. So I think like
timing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and different problems have different solutions and approaches. So I think untangling that is like step one.
Yeah, I think emotional awareness and communication.
Yeah.
And honesty, I like.
Yeah, and also going like ready to listen to what the other person has to say.
Imbalance of females in roles of leadership in industry. I'm going to let you guys take this because I saw this decision. No, because I'll tell you why. I saw this earlier and I was like, every person in position, or the large majority of every person in position of power that I'm working with are all women. Red Bull UK is all women. Nike UK is all women. Breaking Convention is Michelle is the head of it. East London Dance is run by women. Like I was trying to go through, and I was like, most of the people in positions of power that I work with are women. So I have and I know that's not reflective of the full scope of the world, but I have quite a biased view because I'm like, I'm only ever reporting to women.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I know lots of female leaders. I think in our community and industry, there may be lots, but we are mid-level, if that, in the grand scheme.
True.
So I think it's about the glass ceiling does exist.
But way higher than our view.
I feel. It's so interesting. So I remember I did a video, I feel like it's in the very early days of content, but just around like being a woman in the industry, and just me not really feeling like that identifier would have been the barrier, and it would have been more like coming from the crews and the choreo bit, and just like what that learning did to like the access that I felt that I had, more so than me being a female. But I don't know. I don't feel like I'm the best to answer that one, even though I just tried.
I'll take a try.
I tried.
There wasn't a question. It was more like thoughts about it.
Yeah.
I think it is a reality, and it's not just in our industry or, within the street dance community or whatnot. It's like, if you think of women who are over the age of like 40 who are active in the dance scene, like in the UK, like there's not that many, like, and you know, and then you can go into cultural organizations and management, and I think it's like, you know, I've been in enough spaces also, or not enough spaces, but where there's not that many like female leaders, or, you know, I've also been in a situation where I'm working with like an older man, and it's like, even if I walk in a theater and all your communication has been with me, you'll still go to the guy I'm with, like they'll still go to the man I'm with and be like, oh great that you're here, we wanted to talk to you about this issue. And it's like
I think that's more of the like intangible things, as opposed to like which females are in which positions of power. It's more like, how is everybody treated?
Yeah, but it's
harder
like,
thing
and this is the thing of like that I'm kind of getting to with the like females in roles of leadership. I think it's like, I was actually having the conversation also with someone yesterday, where there's this thing that like women tend to like wait until they feel like they deserve something to go for it, whereas men kind of think like, I could do this, let me go for it. So I think there's like, it's a very wide topic, but I think my main advice would be like, in terms of like leadership, and if you see yourself as someone who wants to do things in your industry, know that like in pretty much any industry, I think navigating the world as a woman in like a lot of industries that are male dominated, you just have to like get a helmet and get ready for the ride. Like, you know, things are like, but it's like, I think, you know, okay, if you're
it's more the resilience and the toughness.
of like, okay, these situations happen where it's frustrating and it's difficult, but what am I going to do about it? Like, so what? Okay, people don't like kind of think of me as much because I look young and I'm a woman. So, okay, so then it's up to me to like prove myself even more, you know. And there's this quote by like Issa Rae that I love, that's like, I don't feel the need to prove myself, but I'm eager to. And for me, it's like, that's what being like that's what I aspire to, as like, I'm a woman and I want to be a leader in my field. It's like, I will have to prove myself over and over and over again, and I'm ready to do it. So I think like it's that mentality or like a version of that gets you through.
I agree as a woman.
Cut that and put it as a clip.
Cool.
I dare you.
I
dare you.
Advice to younger selves. Go. One.
Oh, wipe me first.
Go.
You got this.
Nice. Really?
Sure.
Okay.
Like, I guess just like stop doubting yourself so much.
Leave him.
Yeah. Listen to your mom.
Nice.
Get out.
I would say.
How young?
Yeah, exactly. How young? It depends at which point. Because me 5 years ago.
Put the chocolate cake down.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think.
Yeah, it's a hard one to do instinctively. I actually love that question, but
I would say,
thought.
Here's my advice to me, any younger me, is the quote which I love, which is, you only regret the things you don't do. So like any times that if I went back on my younger self, there's plenty of things that I've done with mistakes or the wrong road for me. But the moments where I was active, trying something, cool. The moments where I sat at home on the sofa, get the fuck up and do something. Like, don't, you know what I mean? So I think you only regret not doing stuff. You never regret the thing you do, because they lead to learning or discovering who you are.
There's this other great one that's like, you're never going to remember the night that you went home and got a great night of sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do love me a great night of sleep.
That's true.
Best and worst advice you've ever received?
Oh my God.
This might be a hard one for us to answer off the cuff.
Yeah.
Worst, I'm trying to think.
I've got a good one for worst. I know someone. This is probably not the worst, like personal advice, just one of the worst things I've ever heard. That was, this is so good. This is so good, guys. There's someone that was years and years ago was teaching house.
Yeah.
And that was saying that guys jack like forwards and girls jack backwards or something like that.
Okay.
That was the, like, they were teaching house that like
right.
you know, like the Jack in House is like the bounce that guys and girls should do it in different ways.
Oh, interesting.
And that was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
I was on a job when I was younger and just told like everyone else could just do like very relaxed hand stuff, but because my hands were so small.
That's a good one.
That is really good. Oh man, I can't think of anything.
Body shaming.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Ridiculous.
Where's advice?
Or best advice? Have we got a best advice you've ever been given? That's a hard one to pick one.
Yeah.
I've got some good, like, I mean, the one I've got tattooed on my arm is "A life ain't a life till you live it," which wasn't directly spoken to me, but Mac Miller said it. And I think that is something I live by. Like, inaction almost doesn't count as being alive to me. It's like doing something, like experiencing things, whether it's happy, sad, angry. It's like if I'm actively grabbing life by the balls, I feel like I'm alive, as opposed to just feeling placid or whatever. You know, like it's not advice, but it's the best I got right now.
Yeah. I think it's so basic, but I think like trusting your instinct is like the best advice I've got. And it's like, you know, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Yeah, like a church cult that wants to be your manager.
Yeah.
I guess it's not advice so much, but just like helpful nuggets. Like it's Elizabeth Gilbert. Like, you might want your work to be perfect. I just want mine to be finished. Like
That's such a good one.
Yeah, that is good.
That's one that I'm repeating a lot to other people at the moment.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones.
But advice, not so much like you should.
Yeah.
I think you should stuff.
Yeah.
Feel free to give me advice, elders.
I think you should do
specifically
bigger stuff with your hands.
Yeah.
Spread them.
Pause.
So this is so dance companies that offer dancers unpaid volunteer work, the Champions League show for Lenny Kravitz, for example, pretty sure Tally knows.
I didn't know. I read it and I was like,
Wait,
I didn't
what?
know that happened. I think the
like
Champions
the Super Bowl
League
situation.
Yeah, like they had the dancers on stage who I'm sure were paid, but I didn't actually see any stuff with mass, but I'm guessing there was like mass people and it was volunteered. I know that, is that what Boy Blue put a call out for those weeks ago?
Oh, I did see that.
Maybe it was.
I did see that.
Oh.
Because it was like, we're looking for and then they had to clarify.
Yes, because I did ask and I didn't know that it was Bruno that was managing it, but I didn't think it was clear why it wasn't paid, because it suggested a certain level of ability that I was just like, this is crunchy. I don't know. But it was like the Olympics, whereas like rhythm is helpful, but like you didn't need to be a professional level. But I don't think the initial call out specified that. I think it's eggy. Like the Brits have done it in the past or award shows where they just flesh it out with like second years or something. They just get people in to do it. Again, it's a budget thing, isn't it? It's like, if you know your thing needs
500 people.
Yeah, but again, it's in the comms, because
Yeah.
if you just need people to fill a field, they don't need to be dancers.
No.
So market it elsewhere. Like put notices up in like the local supermarkets and stuff.
Looking
like
for people to be on the...
Yeah, I know it's harder work, but putting it to the industry
Suggests what you
suggests you want, and just ends up being more susceptible to backlash from professional people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's like, it depends on what the initial thing is. Because if you're like, right, we need 100 people, we can only afford 20. But if it's like, we need only 20, but also how cool would it be to engage with the local community and have a bunch of people that live in the area be on stage with the dancers as an added extra, cool, then you're looking for volunteers. But if you're like, yeah, we need 100, we can only afford 20, how do we get another 80?
Even if like putting it out to the industry, but it's not for you, tell your mum, tell your friend, tell your auntie.
Yeah.
Like,
you have to make it clear.
It's a communication thing, which just generally we're just shit at.
Yeah, because I think there's...
Unfortunately.
I think like from the artist perspective, and also from someone who's like mentored people and mentors people, like I don't agree with the thing of, and also I'm slightly different industry. I'm not specifically a dancer, but I work in the other fields. I don't agree with the thing that you should never work for free. I think there's a million moments where you can and should do things for experience, to volunteer, to get in certain rooms. I do it to this day. However, there's also plenty of times when you should see them as red flags and go, absolutely fucking not. Am I doing it for free or for that much? Yeah. So I think it's in the communications of who's asking, how they're asking, what they're asking for, and also who you are as a person and what you're, like you said, if this is in the dance industry, but it's for like my mum, it's like we're not saying to my mum, you should not be, it's like, mum, you have a full-time job, do what you want. It's more for us in our industry. We don't want our feathers ruffled. So okay, so wait, last one that we'll answer. Hold on. Balancing being the artist and being the manager, can you do both? And do you eventually have to choose one to master? Pros and cons, tips, opinions. Do you appear unprofessional if you do both? Are you more skilled because you understand both sides? Artist, manager. I would assume that means like artist and like admin, producer, manager.
Yeah, I'm thinking so, given who it was, as opposed to doing it for yourself. I thoroughly enjoy doing both, and I enjoy the different aspects of my brain that I get to use. I think that both inform the other. I think the talent that I look after are comforted knowing that I am still sometimes in their position and can speak on that. And I am also, when I'm in conversation with people dealing directly with them, I feel like bolstered by my knowledge as a manager of what I can ask for. And it lets me differentiate between practical logistics chat and creative conversation, because I find them to be two very different languages. And again, my experience in managing talent is that they can express themselves really well as far as a creative, anything like mood board, like reference clips, but the practical stuff, they shrink because they're not as well versed in doing it, don't know as much, and it's not what we started wanting to do. We wanted to like move our bodies and like make cool things. I think the manager side especially like just needs to be, for me at least, working hours for the people that I'm managing, but also for me. Like I need to have like a normal working day with that aspect of my brain and that responsibility to end. My creativity personally can't really thrive if I've got like dates, names, figures ringing around at 10 o'clock at night. So like I have to shelve that. But generally I think doing both is a great thing. And you personally are doing a really good job at it, my girl. Congrats. Yeah.
I would say also it's like, in terms of like developing and growing in both, I think it's great to we said before, to cultivate different interests and different skills that you have. I don't think I think if anything, it feeds each other in a way, but in a sense of like, do you have to choose one? For me, it's more like it depends what your ambitions are in either or both things, meaning, and it's not like you have to choose it and never go back to it, but it's like, okay, if you have a certain ambition to achieve with dance, it's like, okay, well, maybe the manager side is like something that you do more like as a function, and like it gives you stability, it pays some of your bills, it allows you to like dedicate time to your dance, but you're more dedicated to growing one of those things for a certain amount of time, and it's like the investment of yourself is going more into one of these places. I think it's like, if you really have like huge ambitions in these two things, then it can become difficult to manage. you know, even I'm thinking in terms of like managing, or whether it's like artists or like tours or stuff like that. It's like, if you go on to manage like bigger and bigger productions, it becomes like more and more taking of your energy and brain space, where like if you're trying to grow a dance career and train like every day and be in the best physical shape in your life and be creative and create your own work, it's like doing all of that at the same time doesn't necessarily seem realistic.
Yeah, unless you can find unless say, because I'm thinking about myself with like doing multiple things, where it's like all the multiple things that I've done fit under one umbrella that I can package it and work on. Like if I work on videography, it also helps my photography a little bit, it also helps my understanding of dance, like it all kind of fits. Whereas like if you find a way that they can help each other, then maybe, but if you don't, if they're completely separate, then it's gonna be hard.
And I think it's really just like establishing like the kind of long-term ambition and the immediate ambition helps to see like maybe, you know, where you want to pour more of yourself in, or if you want to have them at equal measures. But also like if you're kind of having two things running in parallel, then it's also like understanding fully that you might not get like as far as fast than if you poured yourself into one thing, if you want to achieve XYZ in the next 2-3 years. Like, so I think it's just kind of like for your own kind of what you want, that's more what is to establish, rather than like what's better or worse or how people perceive you. Because if you're doing great at both things, people are going to perceive you as great at both things. I think for me personally, it was like, you know, I did not get told, but like Farouk, who was my boss, but also I see as a mentor, like early before I started working for him, I was like, I want to produce, but I also want to dance. I don't really know what I want to like, you know. And he was kind of saying, if you want to dance for now, like, you know, you should do that fully. And if you want to produce, you should do that fully. But at some point, if you really want to go far, you are going to have to make a choice, you know, like, but that depends on where you want to go, you know. So I think that is true in a way, but it depends what the ambition is.
Just a tip or just a pitfall that I found that generally I could do. I'm thinking of like 2018, where I was like teaching a fair amount and managing Zoo Nation's agency, and they'd all worked up until that point because somehow they dialed down to make room for the one, and there was just a period where they were all
on 11,
and I've never known burnout or stress like it. And I think it's worth factoring in just the comms with the relevant people / with yourself, like just being able to manage your time or just keep a bit of foresight. 'Cause I just didn't see it coming, and then I was in it and I was fucked. And but yeah, it was really bad. So I think foresight's really important so that you can manage that ahead of time. I think because one of the components of it was commercial again, and like last minute stuff, things just like happened. Whereas what I know of your work, it generally has a bit more lead in time. But yeah, just save yourself that.
Yeah, and I think for me, like the whole thing of like unprofessionalness is not a thing. It's just, if you're going to do multiple things, as long as you're good at the thing without making excuses that you do more than one thing, you're fine. Because I've worked with people that have done that, and they were like, oh, like let's say they're an editor, this has happened, and I've been on jobs with an editor and they're supposed to get me something by a certain time. They're like, well, I also have this full-time job, or I'm doing this, or I'm also on this other job. And it's like, I don't care. Like you're on this job. So
I had that today.
Oh,
it's like, nah, my problem.
No, it's not my problem. Or if it is, like, say that at the beginning. But when you're like, oh, I also have a full-time job where I'm a videographer, but I'm an editor. It's like, I don't care. You accepted this job, so don't accept it then. But then there's people that I'm like, they're so amazing at their job and I don't even know that they do something else. I think like that's what I always do. You know, I've done like podcast producing, photography, video. I can't show up to a photography shoot and be like, well, I'll do my best, but I'm actually a video. No, on this shoot, as far as the client's concerned, I'm a photographer. So I have to deliver to the same standard as any other photographer that they would hire that would charge the same as what I'm charging them. Same with video, same with editing, same with dance. Like if I show up to when I'm doing my dance gigs or something, it's like I'm admittedly not doing as high level stuff as like what you guys might be doing on the like commercial side, but like in any kind of theater stuff, R&D stuff, even when I was doing Vice, like I had that chat with myself of like, all right, if I'm going to do this thing, I'm in a room full of people who are higher level and more experienced dancers, professional dancers than me. I can't be like making excuses like, oh yeah, but I don't dance as much as that, blah, blah. It's like, no, you show up on time, you work as hard as they do, you get the shit done. Otherwise don't accept the fucking job, you know? And so I think that's the thing that I always try and stand by is like, you can do as many things as you want, but when you're on a job for one specific thing, you act as good at, or you have to be on the level of anyone else that does only that thing, you know, because you are competing with them. And if you've got the job, you're taking their money. So you better fucking earn it. You know what I mean? Like if I'm a photographer, there's plenty of other photographers that love photography. So if I don't 100% love it, then let them have the job, you know? So I think that's the only time you look unprofessional is if you're making excuses. As long as you're like, when you're a manager, you're a manager. When you're a producer, you're a producer. And when you're there to dance, you're there to dance. And you give your all to all of them. There's no reason that, because you also do something else, that looks unprofessional. No, not really. Not unless it affects your job.
Yeah, you know, I think that was one of my really big cues of like when I was on a dance job and I was like, couldn't turn off the producer in my head. And I was like, this isn't running on time and this shouldn't be like this. And
but
this,
you have a
blah,
problem
blah,
with that anyway.
Well, I mean, this isn't about me, but
very quick answer from us there.
But
definitely.
but I think it's like I couldn't be a dancer in this space anymore.
Like, so then you have to know that you're not able.
That was me on the show. My last show. It was like, I can't be on this side at the mercy of all of this mess
anymore.
But someone please employ me to do a theatre show, because I feel like I deserve a positive swan song. I think the time I've put into this scene and community and industry deserves a performative swan song that isn't me screaming about my time on the gig.
One day I'll be it for you. Maybe. In the making.
Should we wrap?
Yes.
Yo.
Fucking horrible joke.
Did you talk about the beef on the pod at all? We're not doing it right now. Drake and Kendrick. Did you cover it at all?
Oh yeah, vague. Like,
did you?
A little bit, but not.
Who was there?
I think it might be one where I was by myself.
Oh, fine.
Sorry. Anyway. No, I feel like there's not much.
No, not anymore.
Say on it. Yeah.
Oh my god, did you see that Hey There Delilah thing though?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
that was funny. Peace, guys. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. And keep writing in your questions. Tell everyone about the capsule. Final Nike sessions coming. OQS is next week. Support our UK breakers and all the breakers. We all love you. Also, while we're here,
follow, like, and subscribe.
I have a new bucket hat.
I was going to get my prop out.
Go on, let's do it. Quick. Let's
the props that got deleted.
All right, so this is what happened at the beginning that got deleted. For those of you that are still here.
I'm going to do the story. Fuck's sake, you go first.
Okay, guys, my question is, do I look good in... Switch over to the video for this part. Do I look good in this bucket hat?
Yes.
You're gonna put
Tally says a bit too small.
Yeah.
I was worried about looking like a lad going to a festival, but they've reassured me that the smallness wasn't my issue, but now it is. And then the second thing is, do I wear this thing?
I prefer this bucket hat with the scarf, to be honest.
You prefer it with the scarf?
Yeah,
thing.
I think I'd say the same actually.
So I was going for like a
babushka,
like a Angus Cloud, like the ASAP Rocky type of vibe. Also, Tally, I'm going to need you to repeat the fact that you said I look like Angus Cloud, because that's a big compliment.
You said it, and I.
No, I said him, and you said, like I look like it. Yeah. So then with this,
up the snack appeal.
Does it?
I'd say,
guys.
So.
Well,
you
no, guys,
you look
girls.
Like a little.
Tell me what you think.
A little snackaroony.
But I think try it with a cap.
Try it with a cap is Tally's advice.
Yeah.
I was worried of looking like an Eastern European hip hop dancer who wears towels under their big fishing hat, which is a very thing that mainland Europeans do. It hasn't quite reached here. That was maybe not something I should have repeated on this. I should have took the sign that it got deleted.
What
and I
about
should have
me?
said that.
What if I did it? Would
Okay,
it
go
look
on.
good?
Yeah,
You look
please.
good on bucket hats.
Because
You
if,
do look good in bucket hat.
do I?
She gets so
yeah.
like, she's so annoying. She's like, I feel like I'm trying too hard. I was like,
I
we're not
feel
in
like-
fucking secondary school. Like, what do you mean?
I have a thing with hats that like if I wear a
Yeah,
hat,
you look cool actually. But you're Asian. I feel like you can make anything look cool.
Because
I don't think
I
that
mean-
looks cool.
No, you don't.
No.
I feel like with hair and this,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
think-
Okay,
choose,
fine.
shave your head or have a scarf.
Yeah,
or
I think
What
there's
about
a
just
lot-
bucket hat, just
you
bucket
might
hat?
have to tie
or
it.
just babushka.
Oh yeah, that you can. I feel like
You could, but
Yeah.
you never would.
No, because I'm not a babushka.
what's a babushka?
It's a
Like a
Russian grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, tell you.
Okay, prop time. I'll do it
Prop
really
time.
quickly.
That's
So, cleaning out my house, unpacking shoes. Haven't figured out shoe storage yet. Found lots of trainers. Great, please do.
I'm gonna.
Please do, so you can cut it from this. Lots of trainers. Clean some, sell some, give some away. I don't know where these go. Did Into the Hoods in 2008, and we were all given, there's a hint. We were all given the chance to make a pair of Nike IDs. I was going to post trainers on the internet and have people save me from the vintage vortex. I thought, I can't do that with these. I can't even give these away.
And we went through a whole debate about
Choices.
whether they're
Clown shoes.
that good or not.
They're not.
I tried to give her a
On
little
second
bit of
look,
grace.
what are you saying?
I mean, they're a lot. They are a lot. I'll give you that.
They look like a bubble gum.
What we
Yeah.
also thought, because Jen had a really lovely thought about just wear longer trousers, but we've thought even if you wear
There's still a lot going
There's
on.
You still see
Still
4 colors.
4 colours and blue stitching, from any angle, they're active.
They never stop.
They never
don't
stop.
sleep.
There's no let up. And
But now if the boo is hilarious. That is only something someone in their early 20s would stitch onto shoes.
yeah.
The boo.
I thought it had
ooh.
my name in them, but they
No, you went for the boo.
not. I went for the boo. They're not even done. Wait, is that right?
Zoom. They I don't know what they are, but I used to have a pair. They look like the Jordan ones.
So yeah, sad.
That is so something that someone would wear in the era of American Apparel socks, long basketball shorts, and a
Slouchy beanie.
very big t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a slouchy beanie.
Shout out.
So yeah, a moment in time that I'm really annoyed that I don't want to either wear them, nor do I think I'd make any money from them. So
I think they should be displayed
a loss.
in a glass
Yeah.
case somewhere.
Or give them to a vintage store and then go by that vintage store and like
Go buy the vintage store.
no go like
Go there.
walk
Oh.
by and then see how long it takes for them to sell.
I don't know if they will sell. Like, and because they're not like a vintage model of any kind, it's not like I just bought a bad pair of shoes and kept hold of them. I made these.
Yeah.
So there's no like, oh yeah, they're the 98.
Like
such and
from
such is-
this edition.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
like
blah.
there's no provenant, like there's nothing going for them.
I feel like there is even if it's just to show your grandkids. Like
Yeah, like I wouldn't train in these. Oh, you're doing it. You're gonna
you're doing it.
He wants to know.
Yeah. People leave your comments in the comments.
Nice.
Leave your comments in the
So
comments.
do you think underneath the hat? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited about this. Go on.
Guys.
We were going to wrap it up, but we are still here.
This?
But not this hat.
Weird. Not this
Yeah,
hat.
I don't think it's
But-
that style of hat.
Yeah,
You
and
know what I did do though? That I thought, like, I saw someone do this as well because I've been paying attention. I'm not even on the.
That's a
mic at
nice
this
hat.
point. Are we even podding anymore?
babushka.
Over the top? That's a
No.
thing?
I've seen people.
Oh,
do that.
yeah, so have I.
No, I'm not making it work. Am I?
No,
think-
you are, but there's just something. I think
But-
because
but-
it's
Maybe it's not the right
it's
hat.
somewhat of a departure for you, so
Yeah.
I'd just be
just
surprised.
new.
But I'll tell you what doesn't work.
No, here we
Okay,
go. Thanks. Thanks.
listen.
Tell me in detail
Tell
what
you
does.
what doesn't work.
It's like if you
what are
you
the reels going to be from this?
you
Sorry.
have
knows?
you have to let it be a
I'm definitely
like
cutting this.
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
you have to let it be a bit of a thing like that.
Casual.
Like
Just
you kind of
happens.
like put it on too
All right,
tight.
fucking hell.
You put
Jesus.
it on too tight. it needs to be a bit more loose in the caboose.
like I just threw the hat on top.
Yeah, because even with this, it doesn't need to be. Yeah, like not like that, but.
Guys, send in your fashion tips.
No, I get what Jenny means.
Like it needs to just kind of be sitting on top. It can't be like all the way in. Pause.
All right. Well, you put this on.
Babushka.
And we'll wrap the pod. Babushka. Guys, thank you for tuning into our extra long podcast today.
I need a fork so I can do Joe's little trick.
Oh yeah. Fucking Joe.
Miss you, Joe. Love you, Joe.
That looks cool. I think you look cool. Why don't I look cool?
Well, I mean, you could just put the scarf on your head.
No, I'm not doing it now. Guys,
But
please
also,
write in and make me feel
it could be a
better.
bigger scarf.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Love you lots. See you next time.
Love you. Miss you.
Bye.